Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world wonder-ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by Mr. Matt of House Turner. Mr. Turner, good sir, how the devil are you, good sir? Spring has sprung.
Just about, buddy. I'm phenomenal. Phenomenal as always. A lot of great stuff to talk about here on the Stardom Cast. Obviously, three fantastic shows from the Cinderella Tournament, and another one coming up, I believe, in just a few hours, Wednesday, right? I believe, yeah, as we're recording, just a handful of hours. It is gorgeous out. It has been in the mid 70s the last few days. There is no more snow in my yard. It is all melted. However, Rob, in northeastern Pennsylvania, we call this fake spring
I think you've
number one.
mentioned this phenomenon before.
Fake spring number one, because it's supposed to get a little colder tomorrow. And then we may, in the next 5 or 6 days, see snow. So it may drop 40 degrees in a matter of about 5 or 6 days. So, yes,
Brilliant.
we call this fake spring number one. It's always really fun for me because it's nice and warm when I'm driving home and I have my jacket off. It's in the back of my car. I have the air conditioning on. And then what I usually do is, because as you know, Rob, and as we just talked about before we hit the record button, I get up crazy early to go to the gym in the mornings. Now, because we call this fake spring number one, it is cold out at night and cold out in the morning. So what I'll do is, because I have a fancy car, I'll start my car a couple minutes earlier. So this way it's nice and warm when I get in there. But I forget that I have the air conditioning on for my drive home. So I
Oh,
get in the
no.
car and yes, I'm hit with the Arctic blast.
Chilly.
But at least I'm consistent, buddy. At least I'm
Absolutely.
consistent. But no, brother, I'm phenomenal. No sense of complaining. Things are great. Sharon Osbourne just officially announced Ozfest is coming back next year. They are starting 2 days. I don't know if you heard this at the Villa Park where they had Back to the Beginning, 2 nights back to back, and then they'll be coming over to the States. We don't know if it's going to be 2 dates, 3 dates, 4 dates, 10 dates across the United States. But if there's a possibility, Rob, if there's no shows close to me, maybe 2 years in a row, Matt Turner might be joining. You might be joining, coming to England if I don't get thrown out at the end of the summer for All In weekend. But brother, things are good, and I hope everything is well on your end. I know you saw two phenomenal shows this past weekend because I got through between the two shows over there at Pro Wrestling Eve. About 75% of the matches I was able to watch because there was so much great wrestling with Stardom. 3 shows this weekend with the MPX American Joshi tournament, which I didn't get through all that just yet. With the 2 shows you were at, with the CMLL show, which was great, which the WXW had a Kanji versus Chir Hashimoto. I watched that. That was great. There was an embarrassment of riches, my friend. But I'm excited to hear your live report over there from Pro Wrestling Eve.
Yeah, it was a great time. Do you know what? We might as well kick straight into it because nothing else has happened since then, apart from me just being absolutely exhausted. But yeah, obviously, I went down to London over this weekend to catch both the Eve shows. The one on the Friday, which was Women Behaving Badly, and then obviously the Sunday, which was the main event. If you want, Wrestle Queendom 8 in the Indigo at the O2, which is a really lovely venue for those in the UK who've never been. It's pretty much like the O2 academies that are around the country, just inside the O2 complex. But yeah, really good. Obviously went down on the Friday, dropped my stuff at the hotel, met friend of the show, Kevin and Andy, who I spent the weekend with. So big ups to them. Been great hanging out with them this weekend. Went to the show and Matt Turner got there. I think it was about 6:15. They have a happy hour on at the Big Penny Social, which is where Eve run once a month in Walthamstow in London. So straight away, it was 2 for 1. Before the show started, I was 4 pints deep, which is probably the best way to consume wrestling. Bearing in mind that I hadn't had anything to eat because I'd literally gone straight from work onto the train. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to the hotel. So the show on the Friday was great. Obviously, Jamie Hayter versus Miyu Yamashita stole the show. Absolutely incredible time limit draw. They then got 5 minutes more and went to another time limit draw. Really, really, really good. Johnny Robbie was in the opener alongside Lally or Lali. If I think it's Lali because it's Lana and Holly, so I think it's Lali. They were in the opener. That was a really hot opener. People are big on Lali. big on Lolly. We also had Dash Chisako versus Anita Vaughn in a hardcore match in the main event. Really disappointed with that match because Dash didn't have a ladder, but she rectified that on the Sunday, so don't worry. But in all seriousness, that main event between Anita Vaughn and Dash Chisako, if you haven't checked it out, absolutely go and check it out. I mean, both this show and the show from the Sunday are on Eve's YouTube channel, and it's absolutely worth your time for the subscription fee, which I believe is $8.99. Absolutely worth your time just for these two shows, never mind the back catalogue. And then, of course, we had Shuri and Sapphire Reed taking on Azumi and Alex Windsor, which was obviously the prelude to the great matches that we'd see at Wrestle Queendom. Another really, really good match. I met Dash after the show, which was cool. Managed to get a T-shirt and a signed picture, which was really good. Me, Yamashita, and met Jolly Robbie as well, which was really, really cool. But one thing I will say about the Eve shows, like, the thing with living in Stoke-on-Trent, with us being right in the centre of the UK, there's no real local independent show in Stoke-on-Trent. Obviously, you've got Future Shock in Manchester, you've got TNT in Liverpool, but they're not easily get toable for me, really. I mean, London isn't either by any stretch of the imagination. It's like an hour and a half train, and that's if you get the good train. But in terms of vibe, when you get there, like, it's such a lovely family feel. And I know it's an 18+ show and there's burlesque and everything, but in terms of the crowd, like, it's such a nice crowd. Everyone takes care of each other. It's such a nice vibe. I mean, why else would I spend that much money going down and seeing and going to the show? Because again, I think a crowd can really make or break a show. Eve's crowd make a show without a shadow of a doubt. So if you're listening to this and you're an Eve fan, well done you. But yeah, that show was fantastic. I then spent Saturday morning nursing a hangover.
Congratulations.
I'd carried on drinking afterwards, obviously. I think I had 7 over the course of the night, but I was exhausted because I hadn't slept the night before. So yeah, spent Saturday morning sort of nursing a hangover. And Andy messaged and was like, do you want to go and see a non-league football game? And I could be for hours explaining the English football pyramid, but basically they're not like well-known teams. So we went to go and watch. It was £7 to get in, and we watched this great match between Spartan Youth FC and who was it? London Samurai Rovers, which I believe are London's first primarily Japanese team. I think it was 3-3. Great game. I think Spartans equalised in the last minute with a penalty. Really good game. Then I got on the train and almost got battered, which was we got on the train and there was a bloke just having a go at a woman as she got off the train. So me, Andy, Kevin, all walked up to the other side of the train away from this raving lunatic who was quite clearly high on something. I was like, I want none of that whatsoever. Sat there on my phone anyway. He carried on non-stop for about 20 minutes. And I assumed he was having a go at someone near him. Carried on, effing this, effing that, just generally just hating life. Anyway, so we get to presumably what was his stop, and he, rather than get off the train and just leave people the hell alone, he decided that he was going to stand in the doors so the doors wouldn't shut and continue to abuse whoever it was he was abusing. Eventually, he sodded off. It was at that point that the woman who was opposite me and Kevin turned to me and said, "Oh, he didn't like you, did he?" I was like, "Me?" It turns out that this bloke had a 20-minute rant at me, and I had not registered it at all.
So
realize it was the ultimate no-sell. Like, I got no idea. So I'd caught snippets of what he was saying. Like, he said he'd slept with my mum. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. He said something about scaffolding. I've never been up scaffolding in my life. Something about being in prison. He told me that I was a wimp because I was twice the size he was. And then he said, I'm going to meet you here in 3 years' time. So if we could all put that in our diaries, I've got to go down in 3 years' time. So maybe I'll catch an Eve show and go to whatever godforsaken train station it was that this lunatic got out at. But yeah, I'd got no idea. But I do remember at one point this idiot just yelling, but not you, Green Hat, not you, Green Hat, your sound, Green Hat. Turns out that was Kevin next to me. So apparently he is Green Hat and he is sound. But me, no, I am apparently the worst thing. How I managed to get involved in this, I've got no idea. But there we are. So that was a little bit of a weird experience. We then went to a sports bar, went to watch the Newcastle game, and Newcastle lost just to continue my terrible end to Saturday. But, and this will make you laugh, Matt, we did go to, I can't remember what it's called, Shake and something.
Shake and Bake? Steak and Shake?
It was some sort of burger and milkshake place. It was very
Steak and
nice.
Shake. Steak and Shake.
I don't know.
That's a burger and milkshake place. I think it originated out towards Western Pennsylvania and into Ohio. Because if you keep going west past Pittsburgh, which is like 5 hours away from me, I think it originated in like the western part of the state that I'm in. But I believe it's called Steak and Shake. While you're looking that up, Rob, I'm just letting you know when you have your fight in 3 years, I will train you, buddy. You just tell me the move, whatever move you want to use to beat this guy. I'll make sure that you have 5 or 6 different ways to submit this person.
I think we all know the move that I would use, and that is, of course, the Kish Kasai. Because just roll him up. Right, so that's the train station. Where's that bloody bar we were at? Oh, right. Nobody cares, Rob. Nobody cares about what the actual place was called. Anyway, the main reason I've brought this up is not because I had a burger, but because the bloke had asked for my name. And I had said quite clearly, Rob. Now, he was like, right, that's fine. I watched him type in 3 letters, or what I thought were 3 letters. Walk off, and by the sort of machine, by the till, there is a screen with everyone's name. Okay, so you know when to go and collect yours. Andy came up behind me, so I knew I was the one in front of Andy. Couldn't see my name. Still couldn't see my name. Could see Andrew, spelled with 2 O's, which was a new one.
Ooh, Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew. Ric Flair had typed it in. And what we eventually ascertained was that he'd misheard the word Rob and instead had called me Gurp. G-U-R-P. Now, I challenge you to find a single person that hears the word Rob and thinks that sounded like Gurp.
Gurp Goodwin. That's a great 1980s territory manager, like late 70s. Like you're managing up against Oliver Humperdinck against like in the Bill Watts territories.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gurp Goodwin managing Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh man. Yeah, yep. There we go.
So I got back to the hotel that night and I was like, so I almost got battered and my name's now Gurp. This Wrestle Queendom show better absolutely rule. Thankfully, obviously, the next day was Wrestle Queendom 8 and it was a phenomenal show. And I did put on Twitter that, I've been lucky enough to go to WrestleMania 40, WrestleMania 41, and Wrestle Kingdom 20 over the last 2 years. And, the fact that I've been able to do that is never lost on me. I'm never, I am extremely lucky to have been able to have done that. This show ranks right up there. It felt so special. It felt like you were really a part of something. There was 1,200 people there. And the adulation these women got was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there is such a talented roster at Eve. I mean, Sapphire Reed and Anita Vaughan have just been announced on a tour of Sendai Girls. Sapphire Reed, who of course took on Azumi on this show, great wrestler. And I was literally going to tweet out today, Japanese companies should be queuing up to get Sapphire Reed on their roster. And it was announced literally 30 seconds after I thought about tweeting it. So that's great news. Anita Vaughan is fantastic. And I can't wait to see her do more crazy stuff with Dash. But the Rumble was fantastic. We started off with Miyu and Jamie Hayter, then with Dash, then with Anita Vaughan. So that was fantastic. We had you come out of retirement because Shaw, had only just retired in December, came back in March. She has, however, told people that she only came out of retirement for that one show as a celebration of Eve. She is not out of retirement, so it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, we obviously had Syuri dropping the New Japan, the New Japan Strong Women's title to Alex Windsor. Another great match. Those two have just got phenomenal chemistry. They really, really have. And it did feel like the right move. I'd have maybe had Syuri defend it once before dropping it, but I'm just glad that championship's out of Stardom, I'll be perfectly honest, because it didn't do anything. It didn't really serve a purpose. Sayaka Mitani, it didn't do anything for Sayaka Mitani. Didn't really do anything for Azumi, really, if you think about it. And I think it's going to be easier to defend and stuff in All Elite Wrestling, where there is a lot more women and a lot more women who are sort of treading water, waiting for something to do. So I think Alex Windsor is a great champion to have with that. Obviously, like I said, Azumi and Sapphire Reed was great. Nina Samuel and Willow Nightingale. Nina Samuel is such a tremendous wrestler. She's so underrated. But that match with Willow, once we'd got over sort of the shtick and, the heel postulating and stuff, that match was absolutely phenomenal. The only thing that was a little bit of a disappointment for me, and it was only me personally because of my train, I had to miss Dakota Kai versus Chris Statlander. Though I made sure I stayed for Dakota Kai's entrance, Charlie's entrance, because I was like, I need to see that at the very, very least. And I did miss Session Moth versus Rio. I've been lucky enough to watch both those matches since. Dude, Session Moth and Rio is incredible. That video package that they aired for that, just incredible. And it was great to see these women get the platform. It really, really was, because Eve is a very special promotion. And two absolutely stellar shows. Wrestle Queendom 8 is one of the best shows that I've seen. Certainly one of the best shows I've seen live. And just everything felt very, very special. Like even the Amira versus Harley Cameron match, which is just absolute nonsense from the very start. It was incredible. Absolutely. It was 3 minutes long, the match. The entire segment lasted about half an hour. It was great because, again, Harley Cameron is hilarious and she does it without trying, but Amira's something else. Like, honestly, her comic timing, her facials, just everything. So, so good. To the point where she kicked off on Twitter because she realized that you had to have over a 5-minute match to get the match ranked on Cage Match. So Cage Match have opened up her match just for her so that people can rate it. People have started rating it 10 out of 10. And it's like, oh, the greatest matches in wrestling history as a result. But yeah, overall, an absolutely fantastic weekend. Congratulations to everyone who was a part of the weekend, whether that's wrestlers, staff, producers, whatever, absolutely phenomenal stuff. And if you haven't had a chance to watch this show, or indeed Women Behaving Badly from the Friday, I actively encourage you to watch. And if you can, get yourself down to the next show. Because again, it's such a unique vibe and it's such a lovely wrestling fan base to be a part of. I went down on my own for that Syuri versus Alex Windsor match with the sole thinking of just being there on my own, and met people, spoke to people, and it was so easy to talk to people and get involved. So yeah, really, really good weekend. Again, shout out to Kevin, shout out to Andy as well, who it's been an absolute pleasure spending time with them this weekend. An excellent week.
Yeah, I got up to, again, I probably saw between 70 to 80% of these two shows. I think I'm on the Sherry Alex Windsor match, so I didn't see the Willow match. I didn't see the Charlie Dakota Kai match, and I didn't see the main event, which I all heard were great. Maybe I'll get to that after dinner tonight. But I'll say this again, Rob. I watch a lot of wrestling this weekend,
Mhm.
and mostly women's wrestling. Again, the CMLL show was great. If you have not got a chance to see it, the main event with Mercedes and Persephone was
Mm.
terrific. Megan
We're going to
Bayne and
talk about that show in a minute.
yeah, Megan Bayne and Olympia was great. But out of all the wrestling that I watched, and it was all next level, not even close. The best match, Jamie Hayter versus Miyu Yamashita. That was great. That was
Fantastic.
special. I was like, this will get some time. But when it got to the 20 minutes and then Will Ospreay comes out and gives 5 more minutes, I even said to you, I don't know if you saw it. Obviously, I had the seat of the hard cam because I was watching it. I was actually
We're
watching it.
underneath the hard cam. That's where me, Andy, and Kevin were standing underneath the hard cam.
I was actually watching it live because if you remember last week, I asked you, I said, what time does this start? And you said 8 o'clock your time. This is before we had daylight savings time. So I'm like, okay, that's 3 for me on Friday. And there was so much wrestling. I actually had to take a half day at work. I'm like, the only way I can get this, I don't take time off for work. I don't. I was like, I literally don't.
I love it.
Even it's at a point, even I remember like last year, the year before, Amber's like, why are you taking off? And I was like, one, I need to use my days. And two, like there's all this wrestling to get caught up on. So I just took a half a day at work. I was supposed to do an interview with Vixen. Unfortunately, that fell through. I did make mention I had an interview coming up. That fell through last second. Hopefully we can reconvene at some other time. She's absolutely lovely to deal with. I've been talking to her through email over the past 3 or 4 months. Literally just a sweetheart of a person. Hopefully we'll have her on the show sometime soon. But so I was like, all right, I'll take a half day. And I was supposed to record with Andy. Or I did record with Andy at 5 o'clock. So I was like, okay, 5 o'clock, I'll record with Heather. And it did look like from the poster for Women Behaving Badly that Miyu and Jamie was going to be the main event. So I was like,
well, that's what we thought initially, because ordinarily there's a break in the middle because, again, there's burlesque dancers. And I went to go and get a drink thinking that it would be I'd missed the entrance of Anita Vaughn. And I came out and both Jamie and me were in the ring. I was like, what? So yeah, I don't know whether they just shifted the running order round or if it was always going to be Dash and Anita in the main event, but either way, both matches ruled. So again, I loved Alex. I loved the Alex Winter Fury preview tag, but Miyu and Jamie was fantastic, as was Anita and Dash. I've always got a soft spot for Dash Chisako though.
But I think I text you as soon as the match was over, as I think it's by the time the match finished, I was like, I have 10 minutes before Heather jumps on. Let me text you and just like, hey man, that was amazing. So what I was trying to tell you is, so they go to the 20 minutes and it's just it's a slugfest. It's one of Miyu's best matches, which is saying something. Once one of Jamie Hayter's, you can put that up with any of her great matches in AEW. It's one of her really better ones. And considering the fact that Jamie's been off and on in the last year and a half, 2 years with a back injury, and then for her to have that style of match, it's like, guess what? Not only can I go, I'm back, I'm better than ever. But there's one thing. I think Miyu Masha is just the coolest. She's my favorite wrestler in Tokyo Joshi Pro. She's just she has this aura, like very much like Shuri. Like you are going to get killed, but it's going to be in the coolest way possible. Almost like a Tarantino movie, right? So they go 20 minutes. I mean, obviously, Robbie, you were there. It was nonstop. It was great. Miyu rolls out. Whoever was the camera person picked this up perfectly. And she's drinking water. And then once Ospreay comes out and 5 more minutes, Hayter's in the middle of the ring. You got to keep in mind the last thing you saw was Hayter with the Haterade, the big lariat. So it's like Hayter kind of had the up, she was up towards the end. So Miyu rolls out, she gets the drink, it's 5 more minutes, and Miyu dumps it on her head.
Yeah,
and
we did.
Looks. And as soon as she dumps the water on her head, it's almost like she went to kill mode 4. It was almost like there was something else other than water in there, and to quote Space Jam, it was Mike's special sauce. So it was like, and it was just because she's so cool. Like Miyu was just so cool. And it was like 5 more minutes, I can get back at this. Absolutely. And then they switched it at the end where Miyu hits the head kick and then the skull kick as the time expires. 25 minutes. Again, the best match I saw all weekend, which is saying something for how great the wrestling was. And obviously, we'll get into these 3 fantastic shows from the Cinderella Tournament. Rob, my guess is, because the internet is clamoring for a rematch, my guess is Eve is going to run a show during All In Weekend as well as they should. And that's what's going to happen. Because more than likely, Jamie Hayter will be over for AEW. They probably already have something in the works with Tokyo Joshi Pro. that they'll bring Miyu back. My guess is because there'll be a lot more people in the area because there'll be 40, 50, 60,000 people, whatever, in the area for All In Weekend. My guess, and maybe I'm just saying that because I'll be there. My guess is they'll do the big rematch at if Eve runs a big show during All In Weekend. Again, that's just my wrestler brain and the fact that I'm hoping that's what it is because I definitely want to be in the building for that rematch because those two absolutely crushed each other. And I'm going to be meeting Jamie Hayter in 2 weeks over at the big event. So I have a lot of questions about. I was going to ask her about her match against Hazuki in 2018, but I might ask her about this match with me because that was
compartmentalized.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll see what happens.
Full credit to Miyu Yamashita, by the way. And there's a couple of wrestlers who did stuff like this. So her and Nightshade were wrestling in Barcelona on the Saturday. So they left London after the show on Friday, flew to Spain, had a match in Spain, and then were back in London on Sunday for the show on Sunday. Charlie Evans and Jessica Troy, who challenged Lali for the tag belts, they flew from Australia. It was a 30-something hour flight. They didn't get in until 2 in the afternoon on the Sunday, and the show started at 4. The doors were at 3. So that is impressive, and they had a really good match as well. But yeah, Miyu and Jamie stole the show. And you talk about that hater raid that Jamie threw on the Friday, the one she threw for the double elimination during that Rumble. You heard that? That was mad. It was such a hefty blow. And Andy got a photo with Miyu Yamashita after the show on Friday, and she'd got a proper swelling on her eye. It had gone, or at least it looked like it had gone from our vantage point on Sunday. But yeah, on Friday, you were like, ooh, that could be a shiner and a half, but apparently not. But yeah, excellent 2 days. Again, if anyone gets the opportunity to go and watch a Pro Wrestling Eve show, actively encourage you to do it because it was a really, really, really good time. Matt, let's move on and let's start talking about some actual Stardom. We'll start, however, by talking, good sir, about what is coming up on the World of Joshi Patreon this week.
Alternate commentaries I continue to call the best matches from Dream Queendom 2025. Hazuki taking on Fuwa-chan. That was a really fun one to go back and call the action from.
Great.
And then next week, Rob, we go to the semi-main event with Konami defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against one Saya Ida. Also, just dropped earlier today my review of Daisy Monkey's win in the 2024 Max Heart 4 tournament. And I will say this, my friend. Again, that is on the your Patreon feed. I will say this. You know I love me some good Joshi tag wrestling. And Stardom has been doing it better than really anybody. You have anybody that has Wrestle Universe. If you don't have Wrestle Universe, this match I'm going to talk about for a couple seconds is well worth the $8. You need to watch the finals of the Max Heart 4 tournament. It is Daisy Monkey, Arisa Endo, and Suzumi against Daydream of Miyu Watanabe and Rika Tatsumi. I believe the date is February 10th. 2024. That alone is worth the price of admission. That is one of the best Joshi tags I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, which is saying something considering how great the tags have been with FWC. And I know Crazy Star is not a thing, but like Crazy Star and Rose Gold and, all these teams that we've had come in and out of Stardom, and it's still in Stardom over the last 5 or 6 years. I put that tag match up against any not as good, not better, but like just as good as any of these great Stardom tag matches we have seen. So my Daisy Monkey full review, Arisa Endo and Suzumi, the Vivid Honey Mustard Suzumi.
Honey Mustard.
That review of their win in the Max Heart 4 tournament is on your feed. And then more than likely this weekend, I'll be doing part 1 of a part 3 series of Mayu Iwatani as IWGP champion. Part 1 coming up again, more than likely this weekend, will be what I'm entitling, Rob, The Chase. So I'm going to go. I've already,
nice.
Yes, we're Mayu in the tournament. So round 1, Momo Watanabe. Round 2, Tommy Hayashishita. The finals, and Kairi. And then when she finally wins the belt back at All-Star Grand Queendom 3 years ago against Mercedes Moné. So that part 1 of a 3-part series. should be on your feed this weekend, my friend. And again, so much great stuff coming up over the next few weeks. I'm going to be doing a spotlight of Suri in Sendai Girls. And then myself and Andy Header, we're going to be doing a roundtable discussion dropping in the next week or two of our top 10 favorite pro wrestling video game characters. So any wrestler that was ever in a video game, whether it was Hulk Hogan in WrestleFest, or for you old school Nintendo fans, Giant Panther or Starman in the pro wrestling game. So yes, anybody that is, we can put Homer Simpson in Simpsons wrestling.
Yes. No, it's got to be Barney. It's got to be Barney was unbeatable in Simpsons wrestling.
So anybody that, so it's gonna be, obviously I don't play as many video games as Andy Header, so I know his list is going to be absolutely thorough. So that'll be a fun one, probably coming up on your feed in the next week or two. So again, folks, as Jim Ross always says, doesn't cost anything to look. Head on over to the World of Joshi Patreon page and look at the menus of all the great stuff we have dropped, all the great stuff that is coming up as well over the next few weeks. So again, you guaranteed to get at least 2 episodes, new episodes per week, plus the entire 4 years and counting back catalog of all the great stuff that we have done over on the World of Joshi Patreon extra, good sir.
Yeah, patreon.com/the world of Joshi. And obviously, I have been away for a couple of weeks. Just want to give a huge shout out to a couple of our latest patrons, that one of which I did miss because I was off. Misfit Wrestling Podcast and Sayonara Spaghetti Sauce as well. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that is a part of our Patreon and continues to support our podcast. We truly, truly do appreciate it. Let's get into some news then, Matt, and we start with some really quite sad news, and this really has got a ripple effect for all of Joshi in Japan, and that's not me exaggerating, but unfortunately, it was rumored by Kakuta Log that there were sort of rumblings that Shinjuku FACE would be closing at the end of September or at the end of autumn 2026. The initial report did say, or the initial tweet did say, and sort of this was met with quite a few alarm bells, but hope that Shinjuku FACE would release something that would basically be to the contrary. Unfortunately, Shinjuku FACE have confirmed today that the venue will be shutting after 21 years of business in September 2026. Now, not only is this really quite sad because it is an iconic venue. I think both of us said that when we went over, Shinjuku FACE was one of our favorite venues. It felt very much like a club venue. When we eventually got there, once we eventually got the lift that worked. But more importantly than that, this is going to affect a lot of different wrestling promotions, because in Tokyo, there is now not a lot in between Shinkiba First Ring and Korakuen Hall. So if you're looking for a venue in the middle of those two, if you are someone like a Marigold, for example, who runs Shinjuku FACE once a month at least, okay, suddenly you're scrambling for a new venue. Now, I know that Marigold did put something out, and we're going to talk about this on the Marigold Standard, that they are going to be running a brand new venue in Tokyo for the first time, which is perhaps with the sort of the forward thinking that something like this would happen. But obviously TJPW runs Shinjuku FACE, Sendai Girls run it a lot, Marvelous run it, there's a lot of venues. Sariism, of course, always runs their shows at Shinjuku FACE. It's a really, really, really sad time, and it's really quite devastating news, really. Again, not just because of its standing as a venue, but also what it means in terms of the wider Joshi sphere and where companies are going to be able to run.
Yeah, it's a home base, or our second home for a lot of companies. You mentioned Stardom. If you remember Stardom, when they did the playoff show for the 5-star Grand Prix 2 years ago, it was phenomenal. We had the Sai Kamitani versus Starlight Kid match, Azumi versus Maika, Natsupoi versus Mayu, a jam-packed, again, great venue, one of my favorite venues, as you just mentioned, partner. Marigold's there quite a bit. Tokyo Joshi Pro, Gleet, I believe, run there quite a bit. Pro Wrestling Noah. So
Noah
not only
run
the
there a lot, yeah.
Joshi, yeah, not only the Joshi, but a lot of the other companies as well. It's a great venue. It's in a good place once you figure out how to get there. As we did mention on our Japan review about 2 months ago, that once you figure out how to get there, I mean, it's right there in in Shinjuku. I mean, it's just there's so much foot traffic that goes there that you can hand out flyers, a week or so before, and there's so much advertising space on the outside that you can, put up billboards and you can put up the old school wrestling posters in order to help you draw. But yeah, it's a really cool looking venue, very like indie vibes to it that a lot of companies do really well on. Again, the Sariism shows, everyone I believe was been there. Obviously, the big one coming
Yeah.
up in just a few weeks' time is going to be in the Yokohama Budokan because it's the anniversary show. But then when she runs her next anniversary or next Sariism show or Sariism show, excuse me, where's she going to go? I mean, obviously she can try to run a Corkin, and I think it's worth a shot. But
I think she'd certainly do well at Korakuen, yeah.
yeah, I mean, because she sells out every Shinjuku Face one, so why not?
Yeah. And they
Beef
sell
up the.
out almost instantly as well. It's not just a case of, oh, you've got a load of walk-ups. She sells out well in advance.
Yeah, so good point. So yeah, I mean, maybe Cork and you just beef up the card a little bit. She's obviously working with Tokyo Joshi Pro. She's working with Marigold. She's working with Stardom. So I'm sure they can lend her some talent there. But I guess we'll see what happens. But it's a shame. But at the same time, it's just like the old saying: don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. So we got so much great wrestling there, and you look back at it, partner, the fact that we were able to go there and see a show. Not only was it a show, it was a show that we were able to ring the new year in. So, which is really cool. It's funny because right before we recorded, I was telling Amber because she just came in from shopping with her mom. She's like, "Oh, where we spent New Year's this past year?" I said, "They're shutting down the building." She's like, "Where were we for New Year's?" I was like, "Shinjuku Face." She's like, "Oh yeah, that's right." She got to think about it. So yeah, they're shutting down the building, which it's a shame, but it gives another building an opportunity to say, hey, look, maybe they'll open up something, as you said, between Shinkiba and in Cork and Hall, maybe somewhere around that area where there could be a new building where it's like, hey, this is something new where we can have Stardom and Sendai Girls and Tokyo Joshi Pro and Marigold and Noah and Glee and DDT and so on and so forth. So we'll see. I mean, it could just be an opportunity for another building or a building manager to bring up Joshi Wrestling and Puro Wrestling to the scene. So again, Shinjuku Face, I salute you. Thank you for a great time, and thank you for all the elevator rides it took us to get there.
Absolutely. What a ride that was, both figuratively and literally. But yeah, it's a sad moment. Obviously 21 years, there have been a hell of a lot of fantastic matches, and that's just from Sariism's back catalogue. But yeah, it will be interesting to see where steps up. I mean, obviously, best case scenario, I would love to see someone swoop in and buy the venue and keep it running. But again, I'm sure that's something that the owners have looked at previously. Again, we don't know much else apart from the fact that come September, it's going to be closed. It's 6 months down the line. A lot can change in 6 months. So fingers crossed. But again, it's looking like Shinjuku Face will be closed in September. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what Joshi companies and where Joshi companies run when you're looking for a mid-level Tokyo venue. Because again, between Korakuen and Shinkiba First Ring, which Shinkiba First Ring, I think 300 max, maybe. I think Stardom have got 480 in there a couple of times, but that's at complete max capacity. Shinjuku Face was the perfect mid-level between Shinkiba and Korakuen Hall. So hopefully there is another venue where you can draw that. Moving on, and Matt, you were talking about this show before. So obviously Starlight Kid, Micah, and Maysera have been sunning it up in Mexico. And I did laugh with Kevin and Andy and said, do you reckon Azumi drew the short straw? Because Starlight Kid, Maysera, and Micah went to Mexico, where the weather is really nice and really sunny, and Azumi came to Britain, where on Friday it was absolutely hammering it down. So I'm sure she wasn't impressed. on that Friday night. But Starlight Kid and Maysera and Micah have been in Mexico the last couple of weeks, have run 3 matches over the course of that time. But their big show, CMLL La Noche de la Amazonas in Arena, Mexico, was on the 6th. So this past Friday, we had Micah defeat Dark Silhouette on the second match of the night. We also had Mina Shirakawa defeat Juxis, Megan Bain defeating Olympia in what many people are saying was one of the matches of the night, aside from the main event. Obviously, Maysera and Starlight Kid were unsuccessful in getting the World Women's Tag Team titles off of La Harashita and Juvia. And then, of course, Persephone defeating Mercedes Moné to claim the CMLL World Women's title. Matt, I know you watched this show. What were your thoughts, brother?
This was great. And from what I understand, it was a darn near sellout, which I think was like over 15, like roughly 15,000 people for an all women show, which is great. It really just goes to show you how over the women are, and Mercedes Moné continuing to be a massive draw. But yeah, this was really good. I kind of just wrote down just my star rating just to kind of go through it. I have Micah and Dark Sweato going over the spoilers, by the way, folks. Micah going over with the Michinoku driver. Mina and Zeus was great. This was really, really good. Crowd was really into it. Mina was crazy over. Like usually when you have the CML talent versus any outsiders, usually because it's a home game for Team Mexico, usually it's CMLL that is getting the cheers. But Mina, out of all of these basically foreign talents coming into Mexico, to Arena Mexico, got over the most. That was a great match, 4.25 stars. Megan Bain and Olympia was great. I knew it was going to be good, but this really, like, Rob, when you're watching a match, you kind of have an idea like how good it's going to be. Like all the matches like hit those beats. This one shot above the bar. I knew it was going to be good, but this was fantastic. By the way, I'm sorry, Mina over with the figure 4 leg lock. I had that 4.25 stars. Megan Bain getting the win over Olympia with the running Liger bomb, and boy howdy did she plant Olympia in that mat with the Liger bomb. 4.5 stars. Seriously, folks, definitely check this one out. The tag title match with they did have, I believe it was Juvia hitting a shotgun drop kick to Maysera, getting the 3 count, 4.25 stars. It didn't start really picking up. You figured you've seen these Starlight Kid and Maysera matches where they start with like the high speed early on. They waited a little bit. Like Starlight Kid and Maysera almost kind of like working shtick, almost kind of working heel. And then halfway through the match, it was like both teams were just babyface. And then it really, really picked up to another level. Maysera and Starlight Kid really great as a tag team. We don't see them. We don't see them as the main tag team in Neo Genesis. When Neo Genesis first started, it was Crazy Star, Suzu, and Maysera. Obviously, now we have O2 line with Azumi and Miyu, and Starbomb with Starlight Kid and Azumi. But I thought this was really good. I had it at 4.25 stars. In the main event with Persephone and Mercedes Moné, with Persephone getting the win with the combination of the Splash Mountain and the Springboard Splash onto Mercedes Moné. 4.5 stars. I believe this is on Fight TV for like $7.99. Well worth your money. Well, I know we're telling everybody subscribe to Stardom World and get the Pro Wrestling Eve shows, get this show, subscribe to Wrestle Universe. I know it kind of adds up. Spend all your money, but spend it on pro wrestling. Spend it on pro wrestling. It was well worth the $7.99. A really great show. The crowd was really in everything. And the only match that had like the true 100% babyface versus 100% heel was the main event. Like Mercedes comes out, and she was very smart because she's so good. A lot of times she gets cheered. She came out like and she went to go put a mask on when the bell rang, and then she like took it off and mocked the crowd. And then there was a spot where she was running heat on the outside on Persephone, and Persephone's family was in the front row. And then people started throwing beer at Mercedes. Like Mercedes knew what her role was to make sure the end of the show got the big pop, and it did it. Like Mercedes is so good. Like she is like not only good in the ring, but understands crowd psychology and what to do when. And she got really great heat. Just the heat alone made the match excellent. Of course, Persephone's great, and Mercedes is next level. Again, just a really, really special show. Again, the fact that the ladies doing about 16,000 in Arena Mexico really just goes to show you, my friend, that it is women behaving badly, and it really is a woman's world, my friend.
Absolutely. Gurp approves. is all I can say.
Gurp Goodwin, look
Gurp
out.
Goodwin approves. Yeah, definitely go and check it out. I've managed to catch some of it. I haven't managed to catch all of it yet, but the matches that I have seen, really, really good. One thing I did want to ask, obviously, you have got May Sarah, who was a part of Crazy Star. She was the star part of Crazy Star. And you have got Starlight Kid and Azumi, who were, of course, known as Starbomb, with Starlight Kid being the star part. So does that mean that this tag team is called Star Star?
Or triple stars.
Triple stars. Now, but there's only two of them.
No, Starlight Kid and part of the star. Well, you know,
Star Squared.
maybe they should go. Maybe they should be the new stars then. Maybe like.
Oh, now then,
Oh, now we
maybe.
got a lot of stuff going on here, buddy. To avoid confusion, leave it Neogenesis and stars.
Yeah, let's just leave it
Oh,
at that.
Gurp. Oh, Gurp.
Gurp. Typical Gurp. Let's move on then. Just a couple of things before we get into the actual Stardom Cinderella tournament itself. Stardom have announced that the press conference for All-Star Grand Queendom 2026 will take place on the 12th of April, which is a Sunday. Tickets for that will be on sale to fan club members from the 10th. So today, as we record, I imagine that will sell out very, very quickly. And obviously, we are hoping that we will get a full card for that announced at that point. And Matt, the reason I bring this up, not only to give everyone a date to put in their diaries, but also, I feel like we need to talk about Sayaka Kurara. I think it's fair to say, obviously, both me and you, when we did our Cinderella tournament preview, were sort of downplaying, and I don't want to say that in a negative way, but sort of downplaying the Sayaka Kurara challenge at the biggest show. Now, even just a week removed from that, I feel like Stardom have gone hard. Okay, I feel like this probably is going to be the main event of All-Star Grand Queendom. And looking at some of the story beats of Sayaka Kurara and what she's doing around building this story, basically properly tamming it up, proper hamming it up, proper delving into nostalgia, it does feel like we are trying to sort of really get this firing, and it's working. It is working. I feel like with another month or so's build, we'll have a decent build towards this. My only issue remains, does the fact that I don't see Sayaka Kurara dropping this red belt to Sayaka Kurara, is that going to affect my enjoyment of the match? No. Is it going to ruin it through a bit of predictability? Potentially. However, that's nothing to do with Sayaka Kurara, because again, the shrine that she has built, which has got stuff from Tam on it, stuff from Sayaka Kurara, the feathers from the retirement match. And again, I believe this is correct from the translation I've read, she has gone through and written out Sayaka Kurara's autobiography, written out the manuscript. And those are the pages, for those who are watching on YouTube, those are the pages that you can see around the shrine. She's written it out in an attempt to understand Sayaka Kurara. Now, these little story beats, it does feel very much like something that Saya and Tam would have done this time last year. Now, I don't want to take away from Sayaka Kurara by saying, oh, maybe this is an angle to get Tam back in the company. I think, personally, that it is a chance to build Sayaka Kurara. She will have a great match on a big stage. I think Sayaka Kurara will win. Matt, what are your thoughts? And again, we also saw Sayaka Kurara turn up to another signing, and with flowers, Sayaka Kurara bashes her over the head with the flowers. These challenges keep getting rebuffed. Obviously, Sayaka Kurara will face Rena at some point in the Cinderella tournament. Spoilers, I imagine. I imagine that Kamatani will probably get involved in that match because she has been seconding Rena. What are your thoughts on the build, the direction, and is there a certain predictability? What is the percentage in your mind that Sayaka Kurara takes the belt off Sayaka Mitani on the 27th of April.
If that's the way they go, it's still really interesting.
It's interesting, certainly.
You made mention about the predictability. I mean, what was the best match in all of wrestling, and arguably the best match in Stardom history was last year, Sai and Tam, and we knew that Saya was winning. Everybody knew Saya was winning, but
is that more predictable than this match? Is it though?
If that's the way they go, I'm still not convinced just yet. And I know we talked about this last week, and I know obviously you were away the past few weeks, and myself and Andy Header on Talk Joshi were kind of going back and forth with Sayaka Kurara is great, but they want to do 10,000, and we mentioned this last week. They want to do 10,000. We know it's got to be Sayaka Mitani as champion, and against me, there's only a few people, but the way they're building up Sayaka Kurara, it's very interesting. It's entertaining. And if they do 7, 8, 9,000, even 6,000, even if they beat All-Star Grand Queendom 2 years ago, when they did have our All-Star Grand Queendom 3 years ago, excuse me, the first one where they had Tam and Julia, two major stars on top. You had Sayaka Mitani and Mina. That was a great program. And then, of course, the dream match of Mercedes Moné and Mayu. So I think if they do Sayaka Kurara and Sayaka Mitani, and I think they beat All-Star Grand Queendom 3 years ago, I think that's a big feather in the cap for Sayaka Kurara. And she's in a spotlighted match where then now she can float in between the upper mid card to main event when called upon, because there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. I'm still not 100% convinced. Will it be a great match? Yes. But you need to have that 5-star absolute banger of a match to main event All-Star Grand Queendom. Can it be that? Sure. Would I rather see a Micah, a Shuri, a Suri, a Starlight Kid, and a Mask versus title match? Yes, I would, just because I've been following their careers are longer. So obviously I've been following their careers longer, and I think they would have a better match with Sayaka Mitani. At the same time, Stardom is doing a great job building this up, my friend. They really are. And who am I to doubt Teru Okada's booking? Because the one time I went off over 2 years ago, it was the best thing to happen in Joshi in 30 years. That was a Sayaka Mitani heel turn. Don't know where they're going to go with it. Again, we do know, spoilers, that coming up in just a handful of hours, we do have Sayaka Kurara and Rina. So we have made mention earlier today that the show on Saturday, which is Saturday, this Cinderella Tournament is 8 days long. Crazy. We do know that we have CMLL Japan title
We're going
defense.
to talk about it in a sec.
We know we have Spark Rush as well, which we'll get into, but we mentioned last week, partner, we always have a big title match on that show. Other than the CML championship, by big title, I mean either the red or the white. Is it a possibility that Sayaka Mitani, because she'll be seconding Rina, cost Sayaka Kurara the Cinderella Tournament and they set it up there? That's a possibility. Not only that, but I think there's 3 Corkins between now and All-Star Grand Queendom. So maybe you do a number 1 contenders mini tournament there. I don't know. I'm interesting for it. Again, I'm still not convinced. I know most people are. I'm still not convinced that Sayaka Kurara and Sayaka Mitani is going to be the main event for All-Star Grand Queendom. But I'm more intrigued now, and I believe more now than I did last week. So who's to say what's going to happen in 2 months? So yeah, very interesting. The only other thing I could think for a hook to get more tickets is if Sayaka Kurara does win the Cinderella Tournament, Rob, and she says, I wish for my match with Sayaka Mitani, and Tam's going to be in my corner. And that's the first time, because I don't think Tam necessarily needs to come back to wrestling. Would I love it? Of course I would, because it's always Tam time. But the fact that if we don't see Tam for a year, but then we see her come back here, but she's not coming back to wrestling, she's coming to second Sayaka Kurara in this match, that would sell a lot of tickets. The fact that Tam's in radio silent for a year, the first time we're going to see her in this big main event, I think people will pay money just to see Tam, what Tam is going to do in said match. So there's a lot of different ways they can go about it, buddy. It's going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I want to see Tam Nakano come back in some form? Yes. But also no, because the retirement was done so perfectly. And obviously it's pro wrestling. Like, look at Terry Funk, for God's sake. Look at Ric Flair. Retirements are never forever. And I get that. I mean, look at you, for example. She retired in December and was back in ring in March. I just don't want... if they are giving Sayaka Kurara the ball, And we are talking all the time about who is going to be this person to match Sayaka Kurara, who's going to be that baby face that they elevate. And, we've talked about Natsui, we've talked about Micah, we've talked about Starlight Kid. Why not try and make it Sayaka Kurara? And the only thing that I think, or the only thing that I'm worried about with that, is if Tam comes out, completely overshadows Sayaka Kurara. If Tam comes out, Sayaka Kurara might as well not even be in that match. And that feels harsh. Now, I don't think this will be the match at the Cinderella Tournament final. I don't think that they would only give us a week, less than a week, after this build to then put it on the Cinderella Tournament final. We may get a white belt title defense. We might get the high speed. We might get Yuna and Rian. I don't know. But I would be very, very surprised if we got this red belt match now with this little time. Because again, you guys are listening to this on Wednesday morning. The quarterfinals are today as you are listening to it. And the final is on Sunday. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't think there's enough time. I feel like they are building to something. Again, I am more open to the idea of Tam coming back than I was 3-4 months ago, especially with this direction they're going. I just don't want it to overshadow Sayaka Kurara and her attempt at the red belt with her coming back. Now, if she comes back at the end, that's something different. However, if she comes out seconding or comes out before or whatever, you are running the risk of Sayaka Kurara being a complete non-factor in that match, which is a huge shame, especially as, she's doing some really, really good storyline work. So
yeah, we'll talk about that match with Tomoka Inaba was amazing in Cork and Hall.
Match of the tournament so far for me. Match of the tournament. Although Sayaka Kurara's faceplant when she misses the spear off Saki Kashima might be my moment of the tournament because she hits hard. You have already mentioned it. We'll talk a little bit more about it now. We have had the first matches announced for that final on the 15th at Yokohama Budokan. Hazuki will be defending the CMLL Japan Women's Championship against India Seo. And on top of that, we will also have the appearance of Spark Rush. So Sari and Takumi Iroha will be on the card. We just don't know who they are going to be against yet, Matt. I'm really intrigued by that. That promises to be a really, really good match. Maybe we'll see Spark Rush challenge BMI 2000 at All-Star Grand Queendom. Wouldn't that be a tasty matchup? But what are your thoughts? What are your hopes regarding that? We have got the full card announced for Korakuen, by the way, but that contains spoilers for the whole of the review that we're going to be doing, so I'm going to add that on at the end.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job building this matchup with India Sue and Hazuki over these past few weeks. So you knew it was coming. I thought it would have been this Cork and Hall show, but I guess they didn't want to overshadow the tournament, which I'm fine with. I think it's going to be great. It's Hazuki. India Sue's been fantastic. Again, they've done a great job giving us breadcrumbs leading to this match. It's great that we're going to see a return of Spark Rush. Great considering the fact they didn't get arrested for their near attempted murder on Fuchan. So I was like, yes. I was happy for two reasons. One, we're getting Spark Rush back in Stardom in a quick turnaround in a big building like the Yokohama Budokan. I was very happy Suri and Takumi Iroha, there's no charges pressed against one Fuchan. Rob, I'm throwing it out there. We don't know who they're going to wrestle. It's got to be Sorry Poi, right? I think it's Sorry Poi. There's a lot of right answers. Sorry Poi, Wingori if Hana's not in the final, which I think she's going to because I've been pretty good on my predictions. Wingori's a good shout. BMI 2000 if you want to put a title match. Maybe they do it here. That's a possibility. Then maybe you get Spark Rush. If they do that and Spark Rush wins the tag belts, then at Yokohama you can do Spark Rush versus Sorry Poi or FWC or really any combination. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll probably find out at Cork, and my guess is at Cork, and because then you only have 3 days to build to Yokohama Budokan. But I think other than like 2 or 3 sections, this building's pretty well sold out. So Stardom is absolutely on fire. Even with All-Star Grand Queendom, I think 11 of the 18 sections are sold out or nearing a sellout. 2 months away with no matches announced. So Stardom's on fire, my friend, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to Corkin tomorrow morning as we record and the show. It's Saturday, right? The finals.
No, the 15th. It's Sunday.
Oh, we Sunday morning. I'll get up before church. So I'll watch the Cinderella tournament, and then I'll be blessed by the Lord, my friend, after we start getting some more of these cards filled out. So yeah, again, just more great wrestling coming up, in the next few days. But yeah, really, really looking forward to Hazuki, another defense of the CMLL Japan Championship.
Yeah, she's 2 for 2 in terms of great defenses with this championship. Hopefully, we'll see it be 3 for 3, and of course that great match where she won the belt off Koguma as well. So looking forward to that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Spark Rush against BMI 2000 at the Yokohama Arena. I think that could be a really good match, unless they do some sort of Cosmic Angels versus Hate storyline where you've got Sayaka Kurara against Saya Kamatani. You've got obviously Sayori Poi maybe, taking the belts off BMI 2000. I don't know. It doesn't look like we're going to have a Cosmic Angel challenging for the white belt, but we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. So with that, let's delve straight into that first show then, and this aired on the 6th of March 2026, the 11th annual Cinderella Tournament, the first taking place all the way back in 15, with a bracket of 32 competitors. This is the largest ever in terms of participants, and mercifully has a straight bracket with no buys. Well, until this night happened and we had 2 time limit draws, or 2 draws and double eliminations. Anyway, just a reminder, Sayaka Matani, Bozilla, Matoyi Hamabe, Kagome, Emma Maishima, and Momo Watanabe were all absent from these cards due to injury. Azumi and Shiori were obviously in the UK for Eve. Micah, Starlight Kid, and Mei Seira were all not on the card because they were in Mexico, as mentioned, for CMLL. The rule for the tournament, just to remind everyone, 15-minute time limits for round 1 and round 2, unlimited time limits for the quarterfinals and beyond. Matches can be won by a pinfall, submission, countout, DQ, or by over the top rope. If there are double eliminations, time limit draws, any sort of kerfuffle where there's not a straight winner, then both teams or both names will be eliminated from the tournament, which we did obviously have here. We've got 2 shows in a row from Chunichi Hall in Nagoya. Both achieved sellouts of 560. It's the highest number Stardom have drawn to Chunichi Hall, and it's a 2.94 increase on their previous highest, which was 544 back on the 12th of January. It appears to be the highest attendance at the venue since it opened in April 2024, though it is worth pointing out that DDT have run 2 shows there and haven't announced their attendance. So could be different, but at the moment it looks like this is the largest attendance, this and obviously night 2 as well. Let's go through the results then. All of these are Cinderella Tournament Round 1 matchups. Rian defeated Yuna Mizumori with a pinfall reversal in 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Ai Sakura defeated tournament favorite Fukigen Death with a German suplex in 4 minutes and 47 seconds. Ron Yagami defeated Waka Tsukiyama with a beatbuster in 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Natspoi submitted Tabata with the Poi Lock in 8 minutes and 45 seconds, and that's where my joy in this tournament ended. We then had a double over-the-top rope elimination. Hanako and Uriah Hime both eliminated from the tournament, with that match going 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Maki Ito defeated Kikyo Furusawa with the Ito Deluxe to go through as the Ito Respect Army implodes. We then had our second double over-the-top rope elimination, which was interesting. I'm sure we're going to talk about it. Sayori and Fuwa-chan both eliminated. And then we have got in our main event, Hanan defeating Momokogo with a back suplex in 11 minutes and 37 seconds. Matt, let's talk first about the Rianator herself, Rian, making her way through to the second round and securing herself, apparently, a high-speed title shot in the future. Overall, I think that the match quality has improved night on night. There was certainly bursts of some really good stuff on this night. However, of the 3 shows, and I think you probably agree. I would argue this is probably the weaker of the 3 nights in terms of match quality.
Real quick, buddy, before I get into this, what was the match time on the Maki Ito match and the Soriano match? 6 and 7.
The Soriano match, I believe, was 12 minutes or something. So let me get my notes back up again. That was 10 minutes and 56 seconds. And then what was the other one you wanted? Sorry?
Maki Ito, the match before.
Maki Ito. Just give me 2 seconds.
Close to the time limit. I think it was like 14 minutes.
13 minutes and 7 seconds.
13:07. Okay. It was still really good though. Like, I mean, the show just counts to get better.
Not a bad night of wrestling. Not a bad night of wrestling. However, I think there were standout matches on night 2, Hina and Xena, for example, or Rina and Akira Gorgane, and there was really, really good matches at Korakuen.
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that if you're ranking them, I think we have Korakuen number 1, night 2 number 2, and this is the bronze medal for now, and it was still really good. There still was some really great matches, and this was you literally starting the show and the tournament off with a high-speed bang, pun 100% intended, because not only did Rina get the win in what was a great match, it really sets the tone for the whole tournament. But as you mentioned, and they did a great, and we talked about this last week when I think all of us, when we did our primer, majority of us had Rina going through, and then you even said this could possibly give her a title shot. And they showed, I mean, as soon as the match was over, Yuna was like, okay, you beat me, but can you beat me for this? And there was a lot of high-speed elements to this match. So it was kind of like, ooh, if you like this tournament match that you got for in about less than 8 minutes, wait till you see what they do in a possibly Korakuen Hall match. Because it really seems like the high-speed championship is kind of, they always do those matches the last 2 years in Korakuen Hall. This was great. You had the high-speed start to start between the two. Yuna overpowers Rina, Rion. Stone Cold Rion, though, fighting back. Like, there was some great sliding lariats here from Yuna. Then Yuna hits a huge lariat in a Hawaiian smasher for a 2 count. And then Rina, I like how Rina, I've noticed this the last few shows. She does a schoolgirl roll up and then does another roll up on top of it. I've never seen that before. It's like, I'm going to roll you up once. Now I'm going to roll you up twice, kind of like the double Azumi sushi.
I was just going to say that is a very high speed sort of thing to do. So already cultivating that move set.
Poor referee Rob getting ready to get blown up. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then eventually Yuna just gets caught. I thought it was the perfect finish for this style of match. Stone Cold Rion getting a win in a fantastic match that makes you want to see more, and does look like we're going to be getting a rematch sometime, somewhere soon. But the stakes a little bit higher with the high-speed championship on the line. 3 3/4 stars for me. Really the perfect opener to not only start the show, but to start this tournament.
We move on to Aya Sakura and Fukigen Death, and much as I joke about the fact that Fukigen Death was a tournament favorite, and perhaps she might have been, there's more of a story behind Aya Sakura. Obviously, I think she's one of the people in the tournament that have a real shot at winning it, which is why, of course, I had to go out in the quarterfinal in my bracket and have regretted that ever since. But overall, this is about as sticky as you're going to get, really. However, the Aya Sakura thing of her cleaning all of the venues afterwards, proper working at the Cinderella gimmick has been something rather entertaining. And I don't know if you saw I can't remember if it was a photo after the first night or if it was after the second night, where Taro Okada is joining in, cleaning the ring. And in my head, I'm thinking, I bet Taro Okada actually does that, though, because I don't know when the man sleeps.
Yeah, he's a workhorse. That's for sure. There's one of many, many, many reasons why this company in a financial status is doing as well as they do, is because Taro Okada is putting a lot of work in. Yeah, this was fun. This was a fun one. We knew Aya was going to get the win. You got your shtick. You got a couple near falls with the roll ups. Ultimately, though, it's the head kicker into the German suplex, putting away tournament favor, Fukigen Death. In my opinion, though, Rob, even though it's going to go down in the record books, Aya Sakura with the win. But I have, in the mortal words of the late great Bobby the Brain Heenan, I got Fukigen Death actually 1 on points, buddy. Fukigen Death 1 on points. 3 1/4 stars for me. Again, this was mostly shtick, but you knew what you're gonna get. But I was still entertained, my friend. I was still entertained.
When have you ever not been entertained by a Fukigen Death match?
Never. If she's wrestled 10 times, I've been entertained 14 times. 14 matches out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And why the hell not? Why the hell not? Waka Tsukiyama and Rana Yagami then. Waka, lovable Waka, I think all of us had Ron Yagami going through. Ron, by the way, who would go on to have a really good match with Hannon at Korakuen Hall. Again, I thought this was your standard fare, but Rana is someone who is, again, and I know I feel like I say this so often, Rana is someone who continues to deliver really, really, really solid singles outings.
Rob, what's the name of that finisher? The beat bomb? It's like a cross arm Northern Light suplex?
Beat Buster.
Beat Buster. Man, that sounds like a burger. Beat Buster. Okay. I don't know if she's ever done that before. I was like, ooh, is that like a new finisher? I've never really seen her hit that one before. I could be wrong, but I thought it was a great match. Great technical wrestling to beginning. And I thought it was great going after the Fuki and Death Stick match. Good, great technical at the headlock takeover, the armbar, the wrist lock. Really great technical wrestling. Waka starts opening it up with the hip attack, starts trying to joke a little bit around Igami. And then you know what's going to happen, Rob. You know, as you're watching this match, that you're a few seconds away of saying two words in your head. You know what those two words were? Poor Waka. Because then Ron just starts beating up Waka. Waka does a great job making her comeback. The crowd's really into it, but eventually it's just too much of Ronnie Yagami with the strikes and then hitting that cross arm Northern Lights bomb known as the Beat Buster for the 3 count. 3.5 stars for me.
We move on even further then. And of course, Natsupoi defeating Tabata in what was, to my mind, the match of the night from this show. I thought this was fantastic. You said you'd been really impressed with Tabata over the course of her little run, a mini run in Stardom this time round. What were your thoughts on her and Poi here?
This was good, and I made mention this last week during our preview that this could steal the show of night one. It was very close to me. I did give it to the main event, which we'll get into, but this was very, the high speed style of Natsupoi versus the lucha style Tabata, and they made it work, which we knew they were going to. This was terrific. Natsupoi is just such a next level worker, where she really is, and we'll talk about the heartbreaking match for you, buddy, that she had in Korakuen Hall. But I mean, she's just so good. Just really great stuff back and forth between the two. And I loved how Natsupoi throughout the series of this match was working in the Fujiwara armbar. Like she's been doing, we've been seeing the last 2 years. She'll do the high cross body when the wrestler kicks out. She'll go into the Japanese armbar, or the Jujigatami as it's called. And then we've been seeing too, she does the Muda lock, but then locking in like a Fujiwara armbar. So like how she'd be going back to that in certain points. We do have this match, Natsupoi hitting the basement drop kick and then going to the top rope with the Pharaoh gift. Tabata hits a split leg stunner, which now Tabata and Rion. I mean, it's right there, Rob. Battle of the stunners. That scores a 2 count. Natsupoi is able to come back with a super kick, the crown splitter, and then does like almost like a step up into the armbar. It's almost like she's going for a shining wizard, almost like the Scorpion Rising from Mako Satomura. But then when she came down, she captured the arm and rolled into the double armbar known as the Poi lock. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Not only did it have the cool spots, it really had, the lucha style versus the Joshi style that melded so well. But then you had great psychology, great limb work, as you say, Rob. I know you like a great limb match. So they were able to
That's why I enjoyed this.
In less than 9 minutes, they were able to tell 3 different styles of story, which just really goes to show you how great these two are and how great these two worked. Love to see them this run back, maybe like a 14, 15-minute match where they can really kind of stretch out the story. This was great. I had it at 4 stars as Natsupoi moves on to round number 2.
Yeah, I think you almost have to adjust your star ratings a little bit, don't you? Because these matches are going to naturally be truncated. And because there's that over-the-top rope elimination variable as well, the matches are wrestled differently. And I think that's something that all Cinderella matches have in common.
I did forget to make mention this, and I always make mention this since I've been part of the Stardom Cast the last handful of years, that when it comes to Cinderella Tournament, I grade these matches on a curve because of the time and the over-the-top rope. So I grade it on a little bit of a curve.
And this is where your high-speed wrestlers, your Natsupoi, your Unimism, or even Rian, who we've just talked about cultivating a high-speed style, that's where they're really going to benefit because they're used to wrestling to those shorter time limits. Fukigen Death, of course, the queen of that, obviously. We move on then. Hanako and Yorihime. We now know why this went to a double count out because these two will be Yorihime will be challenging Hanako for the Future of Stardom Championship at Korakuen Hall on today, as you are listening, tomorrow as we record. And as Hanako is rapidly running out of days to hold the belt, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if Yorihime takes it. I would have had Akira Kuragane take it off Hanako. I'll be perfectly honest, especially as Hanako, again, I believe it's this month is when her eligibility runs out for this belt. You built Akira up during Stardom Supreme fight and then have done absolutely nothing with her since. She's been eliminated in the first round of the Cinderella. A great match with Rena, but she's still been eliminated in the first round. Lost for the Future of Stardom Championship. I'm sure I can't be the only person who thinks, because obviously we haven't spoken about this. I can't be the only person who thinks, especially if Hanako either wins this and just vacates, or if Yuri Ahime takes the belt. And no disrespect to Yuri Ahime, I think Akira could have done with it more. It seems like a weird decision. This match aside, and the result aside, I can see why they've done it to set up the future match for Korakuen Hall. But why did Akira not take the belt off Hanako?
There's a lot of different interesting things you can think of. Maybe you're waiting to build Akira up or give Hanako a couple extra title defenses. Maybe, Rob, I mean, the simple booking can be, we've seen it throughout wrestling history, is Hanako beats Akira, Hanako beats Uriah here, and then what if, again, we have a big show coming up at the end on Sunday. What if they run Akira and Hanako back and they're waiting for a bigger venue with more eyes on it in Yokohama Budokan to crown Akira? That's a possibility, because now there's more sympathy behind her, because everyone thought she was going to win it in Korakuen Hall. Korakuen Hall was ready for her to win it. She didn't win it. And now it's like, okay, you always, when you see somebody knocked down and get back up, it's like Rocky 1. Rocky keeps getting knocked down and he keeps getting back up, and you makes you want to cheer for them more. Maybe that's what we're doing with Akira. We shall see. As far as this match goes, this is great. As soon as the bell rings, Uriah Hime, she don't give a damn. She comes off the shotgun dropkick, the forearms. Like, you can just see the pent up frustration from Uriah Hime these past few months of just getting waylaid from the Shuris, the Cerise, the returning Yuzuki Ayakawas. It's just like she's taking this all out on Hanako. And this was a fight. This was a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like sometimes you want to see a struggle in some matches. Not every matches can be, Natsupoi and Tabitha, where it's just like so seamless. Like, these two are so good that you want to see something a little different. And this was different. I mean, this was a fight. It was bowling shoe ugly in the best way possible. Literally the point when they went to the outside and they're brawling with each other and they're slamming each other on the floor. And then Hanako accidentally lariats the post, that you're like, okay, I feel like it's going to go to a double count out, but I want to see more. And now we're going to get it run back in Korakuen Hall coming up again in just a few hours' time. I thought this was a really great showing of just Uriah Hime just kind of boiling over to the point where she's just tired of, she's just tired of taking it. To quote Children of the Grave, my friend, they're tired of being told what to do, pushed around and told what to do. And that's what Uriah Hime, to me, came out like this, to where Hanako was like fighting off the back foot. And then she got the advantage on Uriah Hime. The match went to the floor, went all over the building, which they may have to pay the hate tax for that, because that's kind of Hate's gimmick. But I thoroughly enjoyed this one, my friend. I had it 3 3/4 stars, and it sets up, an instant rematch for the Future of Stardom Championship, again, coming up in Korakuen Hall in just a few hours' time.
The other thing that this draw does is it takes out the story beat of Hanako versus Aya Sakura, which it felt like they were naturally building towards.
Right.
It does seem a little bit of a wasted opportunity to have Hanako and Aya Sakura next to each other in the bracket and then not face each other. Especially as Aya Sakura has made it very clear that even though her own eligibility for the Future of Stardom Championship runs out very, very, very soon, she still wants that belt because she wants to show that she can beat Hanako. And that's a thought. Maybe they do that. Maybe Hanako beats Yuri Ahime here. Aya Sakura gets knocked out of the Cinderella Tournament, and then they run Hanako and Aya Sakura at the Cinderella Tournament final. I don't know. I don't know. I really like Uriah Hime, and if she wins the belt, I think she will do some really good stuff with it. We've seen it be the making of so many different people, Hina most recently. I just think that Akira Kuragane, when you consider that she has basically run Mavida Loca single-handedly recently, I feel like she could have done with that belt, especially after the heat with the Gauntlet match against EXV. Anyway. Moving on. Maki Ito and Kikyo Furusawa. Now, Matt, during the preview to this, I did say that we would get at least 2 instances of crying. And guess what? I was right.
You hit it right at 2. Again, when I previewed this, I'm like, this is the easiest one for me to predict. There was a couple times that I was sitting in this chair as
They did
live
a
was
good
happening.
job of subverting it, didn't they?
I mean, just goes to show you how great Maki Ito is, and Kikyo Furusawa is really ramping up her game. I thought this was great. I mean, these two we've seen them great chemistry as tag partners and great chemistry across the ring from each other. I mean, if this is a match, if they decide to put these two in the 5-star Grand Prix, if they decide to run it back, if they're in the same brackets, it's a match I'm definitely really going to be looking forward to. Um, a couple points in this match where there's a top rope fight and Kikyo hits this huge body slam off the top rope and onto Maki Ito and going into the ankle lock. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Forearm exchanges. I like how they both tried stunners, like block the stunner, like the stunners match, which I thought was funny. And then once Kikyo Furusawa is like, I can't, stun the master of the stunner, then she goes back to the ankle lock. So it's like, okay, I tried this. This worked. Let me try this. This isn't working. Let me go back to the first phase of my offense that was working. I like that. I like that, like crowd psychology or that wrestling psychology from Kikyo Furusawa in this match. Kikyo with huge forearms. Maki Ito comes back with a huge stunner. Kikyo hits the blocks the headbutt from Maki Ito. And then eventually Maki Ito is able to come back with the headbutt, that huge running foot stomp, and then goes into the Ito special. And I like how she tried to get the Ito special on like a minute and a half earlier, but Kikyo rolled her up, and it didn't look like Maki Ito was kicking out. Maki Ito did a great job of like selling panic. And the referee, I don't know, I think it was either Daichi, I think it was Barb. Whoever the referee was came really close to hitting the 3 count, and a lot of people thought that was going to be the finish. They did a great job blurring the lines that Kikyo can get the big upset here in round 1. And Rob, we've seen it since the inception of the Cinderella Tournament. You always have that 1 or 2 upset in round 1 that kind of, is able to kind of be the bracket buster. And for a half a second, I thought that Kikyo Furusawa was going to get the win here. But again, Ito comes back, hits the headbutt that she tried early on the match. That opens up the door for that running double foot stomp that she does and locking in the Ito special for the tap out. The fact they gave this one time, I thought this one went like 7-8 minutes. They gave it 13 minutes. This was great. Literally the point where they were counting down, getting close to the time limit. So now you're thinking, man, we're going to get 2 draws back to back. But eventually, though, it's that high angle clover leaf. The Ito special that moves Maki Ito into the next round. 4 stars for me. A really fantastic match between these two.
Soriano and Fua-chan was our second double elimination, and I don't particularly mind it. Obviously, with the Cinderella, you take the eliminations and the results with a certain pinch of salt, especially in the opening rounds. I was incredibly surprised that they went the double elimination route with this one, especially having already had a double elimination on that side of the bracket. Now, we don't have that on the second side of the bracket. We don't see another one on either of the 2 next shows, but here I feel like you could, and again, I'm such a huge Soriano fan, you could have done a lot with Fua-chan in this tournament. And on the flip side of that, you've also got, and this was something we talked about in the preview, you've also got Soriano versus Maki Ito then in the second round, which is another great matchup. We've been slowly sort of almost building that since Maki Ito's debut back in January. This was a good match. Fua-chan continues to impress. And I'll be perfectly honest, continues to surpass any expectations I had of her from the moment she had that incredible match with Hazuki, which you've just done a fantastic job of alternate commentary on our Patreon.
Thank you.
Ever since that moment, she's completely, like I say, blown away expectations. She's from taking an absolute pasting at the hands of Suri and Takumi Aroha, to having great tag matches with Hazuki, to, standing up in singles matches with Rina. You could have done something with her in this Cinderella tournament. And again, the eyes that she brings to the product, you could have quite easily had her go into the quarterfinals, the semifinals even. I think it's a wasted double count out. If you're going to have a double count out, fine. If you're going to have 2, absolutely fine. There's 32 competitors. I don't think this was the right call on this one, though. And that might just be me. It might just be my opinion. But I think when you've got someone like Fua-chan who does bring a lot of eyeballs, to have her eliminated in the first round, again, this might build to a singles program between these two, which great. We saw in the match before the double elimination that they have really good chemistry. Yeah, seemed like a waste to me.
Yeah, not unless they're building towards a bigger singles match. But it did look like they kind of had a little pull apart afterwards. So it's like, was it just something they did in the moment or something that they're building towards? You look at this, and I agree with you, partner. I think this was kind of a missed opportunity from Stardom. Like, this isn't a make or break it. I didn't lose any sleep over. I thought the match was great. I'll tell you right now, I gave it 4 stars. I know some people, they had it as their favorite match from night 1 and night 2 from the first round. This was terrific, but considering the fact that you were probably, as far as like exposure, probably your 2 biggest stars in the whole entire tournament, with Wuchan obviously being the biggest overall star because of the outside eye she brings in. And Soriano is obviously a massive star for Stardom, but she pretty much wrestles for like every promotion as well. So she brings a lot of eyes there. Again, her and Sai Kamatani, 6,500 people in Sumo Hall. So it's like probably your 2 biggest drawing stars in round 1, and nobody advances. So it's just like you don't have any of your golden gooses going to Cork and Hall, which might have been some of the and we'll get into the attendance. I know Stardom still drew over 1,000 people, but it was one of their lowest drawing shows in the past year or so, which again, we'll get into it. So I thought it might have been a missed opportunity there. But again, Rob, maybe you're right. Maybe they're building to something bigger. There's a lot of Cork and Hall shows coming up over the next handful of weeks. After All-Star Grand Queendom, we have Golden Week with 4,000 shows. So batten down your hatches for that, folks. So maybe they're saving that for a main event match on one of the Golden Week shows. So we'll see what happens. Let's reserve judgment for that. But you still could have had maybe somebody win over the top rope, like say Anna wins over the top rope, and then Fua-chan maybe attacks her afterwards. You can do something that way. Regardless, I thought the match was great. Fua-chan came out on fire here with the drop kicks, had Ano on the back foot. Ano using big boot after big boot after big boot, then goes to that classic Soriano offense with the step up enziguri, the perfect plex, as I call it, into the straight jacket camel clutch. Soriano starts kind of dominating towards the end of the match, and then she goes for the German suplex. Fua-chan escapes the German suplex, locks Soriano in the octopus hold. And I love how whenever Fua-chan does the octopus hold, she gets part of the wrist, and then she, on the left hand, and then on the right arm, she digs the elbow down into the ribs. Now I know obviously she's not 100% digging that down, but if you ever have like your ribs punched or anybody like digging into your ribs, it sucks. And the way it looks like she's got the facial, like she's really trying to dig down. And Soriano was selling it like, this sucks. I need to get to the rope. So selling panic there, which I thought was great. We get a great German suplex exchange. Fua-chan's throwing and taking German suplexes, excuse me, as with the best of them in Joshi. So there was really great intensity there towards the end. Soriano ducks the Shining Wizard, hits the enziguri, goes for a clothesline. Both of them tumble on over the top rope. We get the tease on the apron. Fua-chan hitting the suplex brainbuster on the apron, and both Fua-chan and Soriano tumble to the floor. Again, a really, really great match despite the finish. But again, we'll reserve judgment. Let's wait to see how this plays out. Because again, there's a lot of shows Stardom needs to draw tickets for the next few months. Maybe this is one they were holding back on. 4 stars for me. The match was fantastic. Fua-chan is so good in pro wrestling. Soriano can really work with anybody and make them look really good. Again, 4 stars for me.
Main event of night 1 then, Hanan versus Momo Kogo. And you knew you were going to get a really good match with this. And even though Momo Kogo fell at the first hurdle, which seems to, unfortunately, especially, over the last couple of years, seems to be the story of Momo Kogo in Stardom. She puts in a really good performance, but can't get the results. And that was the same here, put in a really good performance with Hanan. And even at the end, when Hanan was sort of, really putting over Momo Kogo falls at the first hurdle. And I feel so sorry for it. And I'm sure every fan of Momo Kogo is the same. Clearly, there is a story with Hanan. I think she is probably, certainly now, either first or second favorite to win the entire thing, depending on if you want to go through Hanan to Konami through the Cinderella. But Momo Kogo deserves a lot of praise in this match. because, again, she is such a solid hand on this roster that doesn't necessarily get the credit she deserves. And I thought her and Hannon put on a predictably really good match.
Yeah, well, last week when we were previewing this and doing our predictions, we were trying to figure out what the main event was going to be on night one. We thought it would be Poyer Tabitha or Soriano versus Fuachan. And once this was announced at the start of the show, it was going to be the main event. It was like, okay, it's going to be special because Momo Kogo has always been really good. But really, since, Mayu left Stars and FWC got thrown out of Stars, Momo Kogo has taken it as almost a personal challenge to be great every second she's in the ring. Hanan is a next level talent. I fully expect her to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship, maybe at Yokohama. If not, probably in the next few months. I mean, she is a main eventer in a company that is loaded with main event talent. So it's like when you're the main event, you put your extra working shoes on. You give the crowd something special. Considering all the great wrestling that we watched, you need this match to stick the landing. And Rob, this was my favorite match of the opening round. Again, we'll get into night two on the right side of the bracket, which was great. I love this match. I thought this was great. You had babyface versus babyface, stars versus stars, and it was wrestled as just, hey, we're just trying to see who's going to be better tonight and who's going to succeed to the next round. You get your big lockup to start, Rob, and I'm all about that. By the way, Jamie Hayter versus Miyu, as we talked about an hour ago, the best big lockup. Yes,
Lockup.
Yes, I was like, that's the best lockup ever, and it's 7 minutes into the match. Anywho, this match starts with a big lockup. Momo Kogo gets really fast, really quick. The head scissors into the drop kick. Hanan comes back with the drop kick of her own. I like how Momo then really starts firing up on Hanan, getting the better part of the early exchanges on the former future Stardom champion and the former Goddess of Stardom champion and the winner of this tournament 2 years ago. And Hanan Momo Kogo then misses a 619. However, she comes back with a head scissors, sending Hanan to the floor. Momo Kogo then gets a little violent. We get a little violent exchange out on the floor as Momo whips Hanan into the post. Not very Cinderella of one Momo Kogo. Back in the ring, we go back and forth. A really great exchange. Momo Kogo gets into Momo wins a strike exchange with her and Hanan, hits a super kick. Hanan comes back with the famouser the judo throw and the famouser for a 2 count. Hanan goes for the Hanan special. However, Momo Kogo escapes that and then hits a super kick, a snap belly to back suplex, and a corner splash for 2. And then we do see Momo Kogo hitting the Destino. Since I guess Naito's not doing it anymore, Momo Kogo bringing in the Destino. I thought that was great for a 2.9 count. As we get towards the end of this match, I mean, the crowd was into everything from the opening bell to the end of this. The crowd gets really hot the last 2.5 minutes. We get some great near falls back and forth. Eventually, we get the Hanan special and the backdrop hold for the 3 count, putting away Momo Kogo. 4.25 stars. Again, buddy, my favorite match from this opening round. I thought the whole show was great. This was really the perfect match to end it with. These two took advantage of the main event spot. And again, Momo Kogo, even though looking at the lights, eating the loss here, I thought she looked really good in her efforts to defeat the former Cinderella Tournament champion. And again, Hanan looked terrific as well.
Just a reminder then before we move on to night 2, that does set up second round matchups between Hanan and Ron Yagami. Maki Ito gets a bye through to the quarterfinal as a result of Soriano and Fua Chan going to a double elimination. Ai Sakura, the same as Hanako and Yuri Ahimi, went to a double elimination, and it also matches up Rian and Natsupoi in the second round, which I can't think for a moment why I would hate that match, but there we are. Moving on to night 2 of the tournament. Again, I did mention before the same attendance, 560, a complete sellout, which, again, fantastic number for Stardom to do 2 nights in a row of that number. The results for this show, this is the other side of the bracket for the first round matchups. We opened with Tomoka Inaba defeating Ann Kanai with the hand-killed Tomoka in 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Azusa Inaba defeated Lady C with the Bubba Killer number 2 in 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Sayarida submitted Kyoko Katatsu with the Giant Killer, which is her modified Dragon Sleeper, in 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Hina defeated Xena with a Gato Clutch in 10 minutes and 32 seconds. Miwa Masaki defeated Rina Yamashita via over the top rope elimination in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Sayaka Kurara defeated Saki Kashima, reversing the Kish Kasai in 6 minutes and 46 seconds. Rina defeated Akira Kuragane with the Pink Devil in 12 minutes and 37 seconds. And then in your main event, Amisori defeated B. Priestley with the Like a Thunderbolt. Hiccups, good lord. Moving on then, Matt, the opening contest, Tomoka Inaba and Ann Kanai. Again, we seem to wax lyrical about Ann Kanai whenever we talk. Obviously, I'm an enormous fan of Tomoka Inaba. This was a really good way to open the tournament. And again, I thought this, in terms of consistency of match quality, I thought this show was really good and better than night one. Even though night one had those good moments, Natsuko and Tabata, and obviously the main event between Hanan and Momokogo, I thought the match quality was more consistent along the matches here.
Yeah, and it's kind of close too, because night one and night two are both really good. But I think, yeah, you're right. You may have had the better 1-2 punch there with night one, but night two, I think it was all kind of even Steven there. And again, we kind of figured Tomoka Inaba was going to get the win here, but Ann Kanai, she came to fight. That's for sure. I mean, she comes out like a blaze of glory here on Tomoka Inaba. Eventually, Tomoka Inaba uses those low leg kicks to get the advantage, but then we get a little bit of a over the top rope tease. And again, you do know, because we've seen it in years past, we're kind of conditioned, like who is going to get the big upset here. And there was, again, for a brief moment, it looked like Ann Kanai was going to pull off the upset. Eventually, Tomoka Inaba, she gets in the ring and she makes Ann Kanai pay for her sins, just gives her an absolute pasting, and then tapping out one Ann Kanai with her version of the Fujiwara armbar. 3.5 stars for me.
The other match, both these openers, by the way, airing live on YouTube. We move to Azusa Inaba defeating Lady C, who Lady C, very similarly to Momokogo, appears to, again, put in the effort, never quite getting the results. But this was a good match. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I knew I would enjoy this, and Azusa Inaba continues to impress. Really does. And then again, she has a fantastic match with Hina at Korakuen Hall as well. A real shame for Lady C, again, falling at that first hurdle, but a good match.
New gear, Rob. New gear, new chaps. The chaps.
I'm telling you, the chaps that's the reason. The chaps are the reason.
The finish of the match was Sayaka Kurara supposedly tripped Lady C, and that would open up the door for Azusa Inaba to get the Baba Killer. Did she trip, or did she trip over her own chaps, Rob? You think that's what happened?
I think that probably is what happened. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're putting all the heat on Sayaka Kurara. This was terrific. We've seen these two in matches before, singles matches and tag matches. They have really good chemistry together. Lady C using her size and strength on Azusa using that fierce striking style. But a lot of it towards the end, which is Lady C with the big boots, the overpowering, hits a huge front suplex for a 2 count, and then a big boot. And then we do have Lady C goes for the Dominator. Azusa is able to slide out of the Dominator. Lady C gets the advantage. She comes running off the ropes like she's going to take Azusa Inaba's head off. But Sayaka Kurara and or the chaps get tripped up on Lady C, opening the door for Azusa Inaba to get the Baba Killer, number 2, on Lady C for the 3 count, 3 3/4 stars for me.
Do you think we spend too much time talking about Lady C's chaps? Because I don't think we spend enough time talking about the chaps.
I think we need to do Patreon episodes where we talk about the chaps and the build, and maybe like we could have glow in the dark chaps and like different colored chaps and different themes for chaps and
top 10 chaps in wrestling.
Top 10 chaps, top 10 Lady C chaps. Like
top 10 lady chaps, yes.
Yeah, what other chaps we would like to see Lady C do? If she joins DX with the green chaps, or if she joins, Queen, if she goes back with Queen's Class, or they do QCQ, Queen C.
There you go.
Yeah, who knows? There's a lot of different things they can do, buddy. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we need at least a 7 to 84-hour podcast talking about Lady C's chaps.
Absolutely. Sayarida versus Kyoka Kotatsu. This was a match I was really looking forward to, and it really delivered. I thought these two had really, really, really good chemistry. I thought they have quite a similar style in ways. Now, I know that Sayarida is more of your power base, but there is a lot of striking that took place in this match, and that's where both women flourish. Obviously, Kyoka Kotatsu doesn't always get the platform to shine in Stardom, especially in a singles capacity. And I think she made the most of her opportunity here against a very, very good opponent in Sayaka. I love the Giant Killer. I think it's a really, really, really cool submission. But even if it is just a modified dragon, I'm just such a big fan of a dragon sleeper. And it worked well here. A really good match. One of my favorite matches of night two, actually.
Yeah, actually, it's really cool visual because Saida is so strong, even though it's like she's not the tallest. That like it's almost like she bends you back and locking in the dragon sleeper. So it's like almost like it's not like Fujinami's version of it or Ultimo Dragon's version of it. It's something she has her own twist on it, like the basic fundamentals of the submission holder there, but she puts her own gorilla twist on it, if you will. Knew what this match was going to be, and we got it in spades. My only complaint, Rob, 7 minutes. I wish it would have went 8 or 9. I thoroughly
that's
enjoyed
the
it.
thing with Cinderella tournament matches, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just you get the kicks and chops, and you get some great ground wrestling between the two, which Kyoto Kotatsu is going to have the advantage of because she's a legit shooter. I think the same person that helped train Shayna Baszler trained Kyoto Kotatsu. They have like some similar tracking, something like that, or some. I think. I mean, it might have been Konami and Shayna Baszler because I think that led to their Bloodsport match last year.
I think it was Konami. I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah. Oh, because the Red Devil. What's the name? Geez, I forget his name. There's a legit shooter that used to was like the champion in rings. He trained Kyoto Kotatsu. Anywho, Kimura. That's
yeah.
No, I think I have that wrong. Anyway, I'll figure it out later. I'll look it up in a minute. Oh, geez, I forget. I don't know. All I know. He was Billy Robinson's #1 student. Billy Robinson said he was an a-hole because he would bully people in the gym. Considering Billy Robinson trained him in Sakuraba, and he's like, no, this other guy was my #1 student, but he was a jerk. But anywho, back to the match. The match was great. I love the ground wrestling. I love the chops, the lariats, the kicks. A lot of fighting spirit from Kyoto Kotatsu. Again, it's nice seeing her get the spotlight. Didn't think she was going to get the win here, so I wasn't shocked with the finish. But it was nice her being able to show on one of the bigger shows how great she really is, and I'm really championing for her to be in this year's 5-star Grand Prix because I think she could be a breakout performer, considering the fact like how great the striking and submission style is in Stardom. I think that she would really excel in the 5-star Grand Prix. But eventually, Kyoto Kotatsu hits a question mark kick. Saida fights through that, hits the fighting spirit, huge lariat. That opens up the door for her to hit the Giant Killer, lock in the Giant Killer, Dragon Sleeper for the tap out. 3 3/4 stars for me.
Hina versus Xena, and this was the first really, really, really good match of the Cinderella tournament for me. We had some good matches, as mentioned, Sayaka and Kyoka Kotatsu, Poi and Tabata, Hanan and Momokogo. This was the first match of the tournament that for me went to another level, a level above. These two had really, really good chemistry. And I thought that Hina, even though Xena is more powerfully built, is a stronger striker, I thought Hina gave a fantastic account of herself during this match against a more powerful opponent, which of course made the finish make even more sense. Xena is fantastic. I'm such a big fan of Xena, and I thought Hina, again, looked fantastic, looked really, really good. And again, you look at Hina before the Future of Stardom run, and again, I know that coincided with the finishing school, and Hina now, night and day. It really is night and day. The confidence oozing out of this girl at the moment is unreal, and they channeled that into what was, again, to this point, my favorite match of the tournament.
First of all, Rob, Xena over with the section of kids in like the third row.
Yeah, absolutely. Third row Xena.
They love literally the point like Xena hit a chop and then like she'd like be all fierce, like chopping and hitting Hina, and then she'd turn over and like give the heart sign to the kids. They love Xena. They did a great job bringing them and make them a part of the match. I always say you want to make the crowd part of the match, obviously without them getting into the ring for obvious reasons, but they did a great job. Like they knew when this match started there was a certain section of kids that love Xena, and they brought it into the match. The part where like Hina turned heel for like 30 seconds, but it got the crowd involved. And then what happens, then you get the domino effect where everybody else around is like, well, this is really fun. If they're going to get involved, we're going to get involved, and it makes the match better. The crowd could have had this match in an empty arena, and it still would have been great, but the crowd made this match so much better. I thought this was really great. Arm drag exchange, headlock exchange between the two. Hina hitting a running neckbreaker into the STF. I love Hina's version of the STF. We saw her start, we saw her start picking up some wins after the 5-star Grand Prix with it. Now that she's kind of floating around the scene of the main event scene, love to see her start winning some matches with that. She's got an arsenal of great moves. You have the Hina hammer, the mad splash, the ghetto clutch, the STF. Like Hina's really rounding out different ways that she can beat you, which I thoroughly enjoy. We have Xena just working over poor Hina to the delight of all those youngsters in row 3. Hina comes back with a judo throw, and then hits the beautiful, beautiful rolling elbow. Looks like she's added that into her arsenal because she absolutely pasted Azusa Inaba on the Corkin Hall show with the one she hit there. Xena comes back with the super kick. Hina comes back with the Hina special. Xena comes back up with the German suplex and the 2-step German suplex. Forgot that Xena did that. We have not seen Xena do that. And I know she was away for a bit with the injury, but even before the injury, like that 2-step German suplex, haven't seen it in a while. And I thought that was going to be the finish because the way this match was building. We do see that Xena goes for the dial lock. Hina's able to roll through and catches Xena with the ghetto clutch for the 3 count. I had this at 4 stars, Rob, but I actually gave it a little bit extra credit to 4.25 stars because of how hot the crowd was for this match. Again, when you have a hot crowd like that, it just adds to the match and adds to the show. You mentioned before at the Pro Wrestling Eve show, because the crowd was so into everything, it made the match and the show more enjoyable. And that's what happened to me here. 4.25 stars.
Miyu Amasaki and Rina Yamashita. Now, I must admit, in hindsight, this is made even funnier by the fact that Rina Yamashita was the one that opened the ropes for Miyu at Korakuen Hall because all of Miyu's friends are overseas. But yeah, I thought this was another good match. It felt like almost a little bit of a sort of a buffer between this and the Akira Gorgani and Rina match. But still a good showing. I think this is going to be the tournament that sees Miyu get the spotlight. And I think that's great because when you have got Azumi missing, Meisera missing, and Starlight Kid missing, who often hog the spotlight, not in a bad way by any stretch of the imagination, but they're bigger stars. They're really good in the ring. And, especially in the case of Azumi and Starlight Kid, they're household names. So Miyu Amasaki is often not in the spotlight because Azumi and Starlight Kid are. With Neo Genesis overseas, Miyu Amasaki has been allowed to basically, shine in her own way. And I think she's benefited from that because, again, the match here, the match against Sayarita in the next round, she showcased what she can do. And again, there's a moment we're going to talk about in the Sayarita match where she reverses that brainbuster into the DDT. It's so gnarly. It's so good. But yeah, again, Miyu Amasaki stood up here to a brute force in Rina Yamashita and came out and lived to tell the tale. I think the elimination made sense. We needed at least one over-the-top elimination. This was the match for that. Ultimately, Miyu Amasaki progresses, which, again, we both predicted and is the right result, I think.
It was Tamura. It was been bothering me. It just came in my head. Tamura was the shoot fighter.
Oh, right, yeah. I was like, in this match, was it?
He wasn't there. No, but anywho, back to this match. Fast forward now there, Matt. It was a lot of Rina beating up on Miyu Amasaki. We see Rina's like really good at the comedy. I think it was like the Corkin Hall show a couple weeks ago where her and Aoki came out as like mobsters, and Saki Kastner was like the mob boss for like no reason in that tag match. Yeah, it made no sense, but nobody cared. It was hilarious. Like Rina
was really funny at the Marvelous show we saw her at in Vegas.
Yeah, when she wrestled Maya World, and I interviewed Maya,
she's trying to pay off the ref out of a bum bag and stuff like that. Yeah, she was really funny in that match.
When I interviewed Maya World, she did say that I said it went from a wrestling match to a hardcore match to a comedy match, and she's like, "Yeah, Rina only told me 2 things she was gonna do, so I kind of had to like go off the cuff of what she was doing.
I'm gonna do this and this. The rest is just on you. You do what you want to do.
Figure it out." And then that's what's going to show you how great Maya World is. The fact that like I didn't know we were doing comedy, but okay. Rena's a deathmatch wrestler as well. This was really, really terrific because you had Rina just pasting Miyu Amasaki. Miyu's great at a lot of things, But where she really gets the crowd behind her is when she's building her comeback. Like the crowd really emphasized with her. So you do see that here. You do have Rena getting towards the end of the match. It's a short arm clothesline and a deadlift German suplex for a 2 count. Miyu is able to come back. She's been doing this version of the suplex where it's like she gets you in a pump handle and then throws you in almost like a release fisherman suplex. I don't know if she's got a name for that. It's almost like the Hanan special, but instead of going after the side, you go over like a fisherman or regular suplex. We saw it in the Saida match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If it reminds me a little bit of Arisa Endo's Waterworld suplex. If there's a name for it, please let me know. Arena blocks the Tensai, and then she tries to throw Miyu Amasaki over the top rope. However, Miyu reverses fortune, and she sends Rena over the top rope. Miyu Amasaki going to WrestleMania. I mean, going to the second round.
Sign points, everything.
Pointing at it. That's it. Going to the second round of the tournament, 3 3/4 stars. This is a really, really fun match.
Speaking of really fun matches, Saki Kashima and Sayaka Kurara, this was brilliant. This was so good. I really enjoyed this. For what we knew what we were going to get, because again, it's Saki Kashima, and I don't know how much she is capable of doing in the run up to her retirement. But there's obviously an underlying story here between these two. Sayaka Kurara's mistranslation led to Saki Kashima getting an absolute beating of a lifetime from Bozilla. Saki's never forgiven Sayaka Kurara, but she still loves Aya. And there was a good back and forth between these two, especially that closing stretch where Saki Kashima's going for the Kish Kasai. Sayaka Kurara eats the canvas on one of these spears when Saki Kashima moves. Like, she's in the middle of the ring, and she doesn't hold anything back. Proper launches herself for this spear and just lands face first on the mat, which I probably laughed more than I should have done. But I found it really funny. Anyway, Saki Kashima goes with the Kish Kasai. Sayaka Kurara rolls through for the win. And then we got the really sweet moment. Saki Kashima hugs Sayaka Kurara. All is forgiven on the retirement road, Matt Turner. Saki is eliminated. We don't get the fairy tale send-off, but Sayaka Kurara does march on in the tournament. This was pretty much exactly how I imagined this match would go.
You're gonna have a lot of shtick because even before Saki
Always.
Kashima, even before her series of injuries, she was a lot of shtick and she was really, really funny. You can tell, like, the poor girl, God bless her, she's just hobbling along to get to Yokohama. Just the years of wrestling is just taking a toll on her. And again, she's been off and on injured quite a bit the last 2 years. So the match is limited, but at the same time, they still went out there and entertained the crowd. Again, you were going to get, the Hina Xena match that we got, or the match we're going to talk about in a little bit with Akira and Rina, but you're going to be entertained. You're going to be entertained. And I think that Saki and Sayaka, they watched a little bit of the Hina Xena match because they knew what side of the crowd to play to, because that section with the third row with all the kids there, they were really into the rest of the show. I mean, really, really into the rest of the show after the Hina and Xena match. And I think that especially Saki knew that to make her match that more entertaining. You had a great back and forth. Saki Kashima is always going to tease the Kishi Kasai. We get the roll throughs back and forth. We do get that beautiful twisting forearm that Sayaka Kurara does. She goes for the spear. You're right, buddy. Absolutely, just like face plants.
Just
like
eats it. It's so funny.
It's like wowzers. Like, get your hands up there, Sayaka Kurara. Saki Kashima tries to take advantage of the Kishi Kasai, but Sayaka Kurara rolls through, stacks up Saki Kashima for the 3 count. 3 1/4 stars for me. Again, this was thoroughly entertaining.
Semi-main event, Akira Kuragane and Rina. This match was fantastic. Sayaka Kamatani at ringside, seconding for Rina. I'm sure that won't play anything at all in the quarterfinals whatsoever. Sure, it won't be a thing at all. But again, I thought this was a fantastic back and forth. And yes, we got, the little bit of hate shtick we always get when it comes to members of Hate. But I thought that Akira weathered it really, really well, had some genuine moments where I thought she was going to win. And this match, again, emphasized just how improved Akira Kuragane is. Ever since the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, I would argue she's been progressing slowly but surely. And she's been dealt something of a raw deal because she was the first one picked up into a new faction. And unfortunately, that new faction has been stymied so often. You've got Rina Yamashita and Itsuki Aoki, who are freelancers, so can't be on every show. You've got Suzu Suzuki, who, is suffering with something. There's clearly something underlying there because she's not on a lot of shows. She is, however, back for the Korakuen show, which is great. But, she's taking lots of time off. Obviously, Bozilla's undergone that horrible injury. She has undergone surgery, though, she put on Instagram, which is great news. So fingers crossed she's on the road to recovery. But it has seemed stop-start for Akira. And I think, like I mentioned, since the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, she's sort of taken the bull by the horns and has sort of gone, right, well, I'm just going to just go with it and see what happens. And I think she's reaping the rewards of that. It's, again, I think Rina was always going to win this, even though I had Akira getting through in my bracket, because I do think that we are potentially going for a Hanan and Rina final, maybe. I think there's obviously the Sayaka Kurara and Rina connection that we've got going on coming up on Wednesday. But I think Akira really, really did showcase just how far she's come in such a short space of time in this match.
Akira was great here, and Rina made sure that she looked even better.
Oh, Rina gave her loads.
None of that, but some of the selling. Like the match starts off and we go to the floor early and we get a wild brawl. We get back in the ring, we get a form exchange between the two. Rina hits a pair of big boots and a drop kick. We do have Rina getting the advantage on Akira. Akira's coming back. She hits some great form. She does the Russian leg sweep into the crossface, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Rina then gets the advantage with a judo throw and then hits a second rope Joshi drop kick for a 2 count. Rina then goes for the top rope knee bomb. She hits a knee bomb from the second and then goes for the knee bomb from the third. So I really like that. We've seen Sari do it with like the drop kick from the second rope and then like, that's not violent enough. Let me go to the top and hit the third. We've seen Rina over the past few years doing the second rope knee bomb and then going into the third. However, no water in the pool, as Joey Styles would say. And then Akira hits this head kick and then hits 2 knee strikes afterwards that Rina sold as if she was knocked out, as if she was getting hit with prime pride Mirko Krokop head kick. I mean, the way she sold that, it was brutal. It was violent. It was great. And it really showed just the fire in Akira, weathering this storm towards the end of the match from Rina and hitting 3 big strikes in a row. I loved it. I love how that head kick set up the knee strike and then into a bigger knee strike. Akira needs to do that in each and every match because I think that's a sequence she can really, really get over. Akira goes back to the crossface. Rina gets to the ropes. We get back and forth pinfall attempts between the two. Eventually, Rina hits a big boot, the hydrangea bomb, and then the Pink Devil for the 3 count. This almost got 13 minutes. Great time to tell their story. Really great fire in Akira, even with the loss. And Rina moving on, making Akira look really, really good in this match. Even though Akira came in and was fantastic in this match, Rina made sure that she gave her enough towards the end, made her look really good, and really, really put it over her striking. And consider the fact that Rina's only 19 years old and understands how to sell and put somebody striking over, that really goes to show you just really what a wrestling savant Rina is. Again, 4 stars for me. I thought this was fantastic.
She's so good. She's a special talent. And she's someone who I can easily foresee at the top of this company. Again, 19 years old with the talent that she's got, with the aura that she's got, with the character that she's got. And again, I know I've said this before, even going so far back as when me and Chris were doing the Stardom Cast, we were talking about the likes of Rina, Hina, Ruaka, Hanan even. And Rina was the one that stood out. It always felt like Rina had the character, Rina had the charisma, Rina had the aura. And yet, Hanan has certainly, had the push, and she's certainly a great baby face. She's certainly, nearing the top of the company and, nearing becoming a solidified main eventer. But Rina is so close to being something even more special. And I feel like we're going to see that in the next 2-3 years. And even then, she's only going to be 22. That's mad to say out loud. Stardom are blessed with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to their young roster, when you consider Kid's only young. Azumi's only young. Hina's only young. Hanen's only young. Suzu is deceptively young. And then you've got people coming through like Sayaka Kurara, Aya Sakura, who are not as young as them, but certainly young in their careers. Yeah, it's Stardom have got a lot of good talent coming through, certainly. Main event time, B. Priestley versus Ami Sourei, Matt. And again, I think these two have got really, really good chemistry. I thought this was a really solid main event.
Hard hitting. You knew what you were going to get. B. Priestley
Absolutely.
B. Priestley and Ami, they took it to each other in this one. The forearms, the chops. Early on, there was a double over the top rope tease. Eventually, the two of them get back in the ring. We get B. Priestley. She locks in a front guillotine choke onto Ami Sourei, and then you just see Ami Sourei put her arm over B. Priestley's head, then it's only a matter of time as Ami Sourei does the deadlift stalling suplex. That was fantastic. We get a forearm exchange between the two, and then Ami Sourei's like, I'm not as good at these forearms as B. Priestley is, but I'm really good at chopping. So then we get the
hefty chops.
Yes.
Hefty.
So it's just like, I probably lose this strike, but I'll go to the chop exchange. So we get a really loud and violent forearm exchange going into an even more violent and louder forearm chop exchange, which I enjoy. Ami Sourei wins that, and then Ami Sourei follows it up with a huge lariat. Ami goes for the Leica Thunderbolt. B counters with a DDT in the B trigger for a 2.9 count. Ami Sourei gets the advantage back, hitting a huge tackle lariat combination. Ami goes to the top rope. Don't know what she was going for there. Maybe the old Ami Sourei light like a thunderbolt shooting star press. B. Priestley stops whatever Ami Sourei was going for. We'll never know. Like when Ric Flair used to go over the turnbuckle and go to the top rope, and then you would get caught in the breadbasket.
Never saw him connect. Never saw him connect. In 40 years, I don't think I saw him connect with anything off the top rope.
No, how funny would it have been if towards the retirement match it was like a 980 splash? I'm like, I've been trying it since 84. It's just like no one would ever let me do it. Anyway, top rope fight between the two. B. Priestley gets the advantage of that, hits a top rope Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Ami Sourei comes back with a huge Rainmaker and hits the Blue Thunder Bomb. That scores Ami Sourei a 2 count. We do see B. Priestley come back, escaping the Leica Thunderbolt, hits a super kick, and then she goes for a B trigger. But I don't know how Ami Sourei did this. This is a really cool finish. Like it came out of nowhere. B comes for another running B trigger. Ami catches her and like deadlifts her and just throws her on her shoulder like a sack of potatoes, and then spikes B with the Leica Thunderbolt. Really solid match that didn't let up. 3 3/4 stars for me. Solid outing for one Ami Sourei, and a nice comeback here from B. Priestley. As we haven't seen B. I don't think she's had a singles match since that Red Belt challenge. I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think she's had a proper singles match since the Red Belt challenge back at the Stardom to the World show. And it's great seeing B in this element. So I thought she was terrific, and these two worked really well together. Hard-hitting match, right up my alley, my friend.
I think you might be right. I don't remember seeing B in a position since that match with Sayaka Kurara, and that was back in September. So, yeah, really good to see B in this position again. Because again, I like her stuff in ring. I think she gels really well with women like Ami Sourei with that style. I think she works really well with. In terms of the bracket, then coming off the back of night 2, our second round matches on this side of the bracket, we'll see Sayaka Kurara against Tomoka Inoue. Rina versus Ami Sourei, Hina versus Azusa Inoue, and Miyu Amasaki versus Saya Ida. And Matt, wouldn't you know it, we're going to go straight onto that show now, because why the... Oh my God, the hiccups. Why the hell not? That's how excited I am. 8th of March, the third show in 3 days. We are going to Korakuen Hall for the third show of the Cinderella Tour. Announced attendance inside Korakuen Hall was 1,097. Now, this is obviously a marked 38.48% decrease on the previous Korakuen Hall event, but that was a sellout of 1,601 on the 28th of February, which featured Konami and Hina for the white belt. And this is also the lowest Korakuen Hall attendance since night 6 of the 5-star Grand Prix in August 2025. That considered, you need to take this with an enormous grain of salt, because it's still an impressive number considering the talent missing from this show. When you consider there's no Kamatani, there's no Micah, there's no Starlight Kid, there's no Azumi, there's no Shiori, there's no Meisera, there's no Momo Watanabe, there's no Konami. There's a lot of talent missing, a lot of top tier talent missing, and yet Stardom are still so hot that they are able to draw well over 1,000 people. So I think that is worth saying. The show, by the way, the 27th Korakuen Hall show in a row, the 31st of the last 32 to surpass the 1,000 mark. And just a quick reminder, you have to go all the way back to October 2024 to the last time that Stardom didn't draw 1,000 people to Korakuen Hall, which is
Rob,
quite the stat.
Real quick, I don't have this confirmed, but I had a few people tell me that there was problems with ticket PIA, that they were trying to get tickets and it wouldn't go through, like the website was down or something. So I don't know if that affected it. I had a couple people send me messages or tag me and stuff, or that I saw on social media. Again, it wasn't reported by Stardom or anybody else. I mean, if anybody can confirm or deny that, please let me know. But I have more than one person that I did see on social media saying there was an issue with that ticket service. So yeah, I mean, let us know, folks. Let us know. The more, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, good sir.
It also makes sense as to why the number's a bit down. But again, I just assume, look, you look at the people missing, that's still a good number when you consider that the focus is on talent that don't necessarily have the spotlight all that often, talent that are often seen on the mid card or even the lower mid card in the case of some. So again, I think it's still a really good number, whether there was an issue with Ticket PIA or not. In terms of the results, then let's quickly go through these. We opened with 2 multi-women matches. Bea Priestley, Momo Kogo, Uriah Hime, India Seara, and Tabata defeated Hazuki, Hanako, Zeno, Rina Yamashita, and Akira Kuragane. Bea Priestley getting the win over Kira with the Plan B in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm well aware that it's Tabata, but I don't know why I just can't get Tabata out of my head. So if I use them interchangeably, I apologize. We then moved on to a 3-way 9-woman tag team match. The Cosmic Angels team of Saori Anou, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura defeated Saki Kashima, Lady C, and Ankanai, and the team of Maki Ito, Kikyo Furusawa, and Fuwa-chan. Give me that trio more often. Aya Sakura pinning and Ankanai with the Sakura latch in 6 minutes and 55 seconds. The remaining 6 matches are all Cinderella Tournament matches. Hanan defeating Rani Yagami with the backdrop hold in 7 minutes and 43 seconds. Rian defeating Natsupoi via over the top rope elimination in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Because, of course, that happens. Of course, Rian gets the win over established main event star Natsupoi when I've picked established main event star Natsupoi to win the whole damn tournament. Hina, I'm fine, by the way. I'm absolutely fine. Hina defeated Azusa Inaba with the Mad Splash in 12 minutes and 51 seconds. Sayaka Kurara defeated Tomoka Inaba with the Falcon Arrow in 12 minutes and 44 seconds. Great 1-2 punch of those 2 matches. We followed that up with Rina defeating Amisori with the Jackknife pin in 13 minutes and 10 seconds. And then in your main event, Miyu Amasaki defeated Saya Ida in the Battle of the Roll-Ups with the Amana Hashidate in 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Matt, we probably won't spend a lot of time on these 2 multi-women matches because, again, we've got 6 Cinderella Tournament matches to get into, and we're already over 2 hours into the podcast. But just give your brief thoughts on these 2.
A lot of dives in this match, and setting up the Hazuki match coming up at the end of the week here with India Sue. And nice thing. Oh, I meant to ask you: is your team after you were so upset over Natsupoi, is your team winning?
It's saying we're 1-0 up, but nothing's been updated. Oh my god, are we won it? Yes, we are as well. Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, even though Natsupoi got eliminated, he's okay because his team is up. How much time's left in the game?
So Newcastle are playing Barcelona at the moment, which gives you some indication as to when we are recording this, which is pretty much, in wrestling terms, it's like
Io Mayu.
Ann Kanai going against Saya Kamatani for the red belt with all of hate in Sayaka Kurara's corner and allowed to come in, okay, and do whatever they want. Newcastle or Ankara, Barcelona are one of the best teams in Europe, and we've just gone 1-0 up, and there's 4 minutes left.
Wow, Rob's going to be on the edge of his seat. By the way, the 1992 Olympics were in Barcelona. Anywho, to answer your question, yeah, you got 10 people, 6 minutes. It was just they made the most of their time. This was just kind of peppering in that championship match we're seeing in a few days with Hazuki and India Sue. I still enjoyed it. 3 3/4 stars. I mean, they really maximized every second they had in this match. Good sir.
And we followed that up with the 3-way trios match, Cosmic Angels getting the win. But I must admit, the trio of Maki Ito, Kikyo Furusawa, and Fuwa-chan, very entertaining.
Sure was, buddy. Sure was. I thoroughly enjoyed this. There's a lot of shtick in this match. Again, Lady C to me was the absolute standout. Soriano did a great job kind of holding back a little so Aya and Yuna can get their teamwork in. Again, Sakura Damon, low-key MVPs of the 2024 Goddess Tournament. But I mean, yeah, a lot of shtick. Yeah, it was really, really fun. 3.5 stars for me. Nice seeing Aya get a win, my friend. Maybe put a little more steam behind her to maybe make it to the finals of this tournament.
Well, we will be talking about that Korakuen Hall and obviously the quarterfinals as we see them in just a few short moments after we've been through the second round matchup, starting, of course, with Hanan defeating Rani Agami. This is something I want to see. Again, I'm sure we're going to mention this 3 or 4 times more over the course of this podcast, but this is a match I want to see 11, 12, 13, 14 minutes of because these two were really good in what they... And again, this show from this match to the end, all of the second round matches were really, really good. Obviously, we're going to be waxing lyrical about the Hina and Azusa Inaba match and, of course, the Tomoka Inaba and Sayaka Kurara match, which is certainly my match of the tournament. And I'm sure if it's not yours, Matt, it's 1B. This was great, though. This was really, really good. Ultimately, the right person won because, again, the story there, and Rana hasn't got the story in this tournament, but another great spotlight for her.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. My only problem with this match, it only got 7 minutes. But at the same time, you have all these other matches you want to build towards, your bigger matches here. This was great for the almost 8 minutes it was in the ring. And I like how Rana was counter wrestling Hanan, who Hanan's like the wrestler, but then Hanan is bringing the strike game to Rana. So you saw Rana's wrestling and counter wrestling like really go to another level, but we saw intensity from Hanan in this match, really matching the intensity and the striking of Rani Agami, which I really enjoyed. Again, this was a nice 50-50 match that did have the over-the-top rope tease early on in the match, which really then played off the next match because, again, if you're watching this in the crowd, it's got the match flow. Thoroughly enjoyed Hanan towards the end here, hitting the Hanan special, and then Rana coming back with the paradiddle for the 2 count. But it's just too much Hanan with that great offense, the running European uppercut, the release Hanan special, and the backdrop hold, putting away Rani Agami, having Hanan moving to the next round of the tournament. 3 3/4 stars for me.
One of the big comparisons that I draw between Hanan and Mayu Iwatani is that Hanan is such a momentum wrestler. You can't let her build that momentum up and allow her to build that head of steam. Like I always think back to that 5-star Grand Prix match between her and Micah, where Hanan came out of the traps like a bull in a china shop, and Micah had to really work hard to weather that storm. And I think if you can stop Hanan building that momentum, there's a great chance you're going to get the win. Of course, Rana not able to do that, Hanan able to get that win. And that's something that I think Mayu Iwatani does wonderfully, is the momentum of a wrestling match. So this was always going to happen, wasn't it? I suppose I should just be grateful that Natsupoi didn't go out in the first round. For those who didn't see the preview, I had Natsupoi winning. So, of course, she goes out to Rian, of all people. No disrespect to Rian, obviously. And, hell, I don't want Rianators on my case because they are the most dangerous of all the fan bases. But, yeah, I saw the result of this before I watched the show. And I just burst out laughing because I was like, of course this has happened. Of course this has happened. Look, it's great for Rian. Joking aside, this is Rian's arguably her biggest scalp In fact, not arguably, I'd say it is her biggest scalp, certainly a singles capacity, having just beaten the high speed champion. We talk about who's going to be the MVP of the tournament, who's going to have that breakout tournament, who's going to have the spotlight coming out of the tournament. And you look at it so far, it's Rian. She's beaten Yuna Mizumori, a champion, a singles champion in Stardom. She's now beaten Natsupoi. Sure, it's over the top rope, and you do take the Cinderella Tournament eliminations with a pinch of salt, as we've said countless times. It's still a victory in the books. And to beat a former Wonder of Stardom champion, a former Goddess of Stardom champion, a former Artist of Stardom champion, for a high-speed champion, it's a huge scalp for Rian, Matt.
This was great. This really was. And where Rob's upset is Rob does not three-peat. 2 years ago, he picked Hanan. Last year, pretty much like everybody else, picked Sayaka Kurara, but it's still a win. So the streak is over for Rob going picking Natsupoi, but exactly what this did for Rian. Not only with her getting the win, but this match was great. Again, this whole show was great, but this 1, 2, 3 punch that we're getting into, starting with this match, was terrific. You have the high-speed style start. Like we see Rihanna's able to keep up with one of the best high-speed wrestlers in company history, and one of the best wrestlers in my opinion, the best wrestling company in Stardom. Great not form exchange. We'll get to the form exchange, arm drag exchange, and then we get to the form exchange, but that was enough because then we need to slap each other as hard as humanly possible in the middle of Cork and Hall, which was lovely. We do get Natsupoi hitting the basement drop kick and then starting to work over Rian's arm, very much like Poi did in her round 1 match against Tabitha, locking in the cross arm breaker. We do see that this match eventually spills out to the apron. Rian hitting a rope-assisted Stone Cold Stunner, almost like the old Eddie Gilbert hot shot with the stunner. So Stone Cold hot stuff Rian. I guess we get all the elements in this one, buddy. Excellent stuff there. Natsupoi hits a double stomp onto the apron. That sends Rian to the floor, but because Rian did not go over the top rope, she only went through the bottom. It doesn't count as an over the top rope elimination. Natsupoi then hits a huge dive to the floor. Again, Natsupoi very wisely did not go over the top rope. She went in between the second and third, so the dive doesn't count for an OTR, which I thought was genius. Back in the ring we go. Rian hits a fisherman suplex and then locks in the rear naked choke, and then transitions that into a crucifix bomb. So nice little combination there from hot stuff Stone Cold Rian in this match. We get some great roll-ups back and forth. Natsupoi hits a super kick. Eventually, the two of them go out to the floor. We get some over-the-top rope teases. Rian gets the better of the exchange on the apron and then uses her momentum to hit a big dropkick, sending Natsupoi out of this tournament. I thought this was great. Natsupoi was fantastic. She made sure Rian got over in this match and now has a new nickname, Hot Stuff Stone Cold. Or is it Stone Cold Hot Stuff, Rob? Which one's better? Or should we just keep workshopping it? Doesn't matter.
Either or, my friend.
Hot Stuff Stone Cold Rian getting the win, the biggest win of her career, moving on to the quarterfinals of this tournament. 4.25 stars. I loved it. I love the over the top rope elimination. I loved all the teases we got between the submissions, the roll ups, and the over the top rope that really got the crowd involved. The crowd was really into this for all the near falls. I absolutely love this one. Absolutely love this one. Sorry, Rob, that Natsupoi lost, my friend. But you know what? It's at the expense of Stone Cold Hot Stuff Rian. So you know what? Maybe that'll soften the blow a little bit.
Oh, crap.
Oh, no. They tie it up?
Oh, it's a penalty to Barcelona.
Well, it's not tied then.
Oh, no, but they're going to score. Oh,
no, they won't. Stone Cold Rihanna will come in and block it.
It's going to be the last kick of the game as well, isn't it? Oh, that's so frustrating.
Flip Hina Zeus over to me. I'll give my insights while you're pulling your hair out, buddy. I got it. You don't worry about it.
Okay.
Hina versus Zeus Inaba. Yes, this is probably my favorite match of the tournament thus far. It's either this one or the match we're going to talk about in a little bit. And I didn't see this live because this happened on Sunday, but everyone was telling me, wait, do you see how great this match is? Like, have your expectations high because you know it's going to be good because it's Hina. She's really good. And it's going to be Zeus Inaba. And she's really good. However, this one blew away my expectations. We get the big lockup to start. And then, Rob, you know I'm in. Wrist lock exchanges between the two. We get Azusa Inaba hitting a pump kick that sends Hina to the floor, very much like if you're watching on YouTube, sends Rob Goodwin kissing his desk. Hina eats the chairs.
Oh.
Back in the ring we go. Azusa hits a few snap kicks. Hina comes back with some body slams and then locks in the Boston Crab. So I like how Azusa is using those fast style strikes to get the early advantage. And then once Hina gets the advantage, she slows Azusa down with basic old school wrestling. Few body slams and a Boston Crab. That's as basic as it gets. But the fundamentals work because the fundamentals are fun, Rob Goodwin. Fun, unlike the fun that you're having right now. Hina hits a pump handle Uranagi for a 2 count, and then we do see we get a over the top rope tease on the apron between the two. They quickly get back in the ring. Hina hits that beautiful running neck breaker. However, Zeus is able to come back with a rolling knee bar and then follows that up with a half couch suplex. Azusa goes for the running pump knee. Hina blocks that with the Hina special. However, Azusa fires up and is able to hit a German suplex. Azusa goes for the Kamigoya. Hina blocks that and then rolls up Azusa into the ghetto clutch for a 2.9. I thought that was great. Hina is able to follow that up with a rope assisted twisting neck breaker and the basically the 360 swinging big ending, scoring Hina a 2 count. Zeus is able to block the Hina hammer with a leg capture roll up for a 2.9 count. And then we do see Hina blocking the guillotine choke after from strikes from Azusa Inaba into the Hina hammer and following that up with a mad splash for the 3 count. This was great. It was strong style. It was hard hitting with a lot of fighting spirit. We had a couple over the top rope teases that added to the drama of this match. You didn't know which way it was going to go, but eventually it was just Hina able to do the Hina hammer and the mad splash back to back, putting away one game. Azusa Inaba, 4.25 stars. Azusa Inaba, despite not winning last year's tournament or this year's tournament, is able to put 2 back-to-back really great performances in the Cinderella tournament for her. We mentioned about the young talent that is in Stardom. Azusa Inaba, I think, just turned 18 years old not that long ago, added to the list of all the great young talent that we were fortunate to see in Stardom. This is terrific, and Hina getting another big win here. Like I said, 4.25 stars, probably my favorite match of this tournament.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really good match. Oh, that's so deflating. Seriously, it was the last kick of the game and we gave away a penalty, and it's a stonewall penalty as well. I can't even complain about it.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Stonewall.
So if you foul someone in the penalty area, it means that basically they've got to free shot your keeper. Yeah, and he was always going to score it. I'm fine though. First Natsupoi, now Barcelona. I just can't deal with this amount of disappointment, Matt. Honestly, I am only human. I can't take this level of disappointment.
I'm going to give you some Uncle MT advice. Put all your eggs in the wrestling basket, buddy, and have more than one favorite
I did.
wrestler.
I put them in the Natsupoi basket, and do you know what she did? She threw them over the top rope, Matt Turner. All my eggs over the top rope, Matt.
Somebody told me that those eggs were hot stuff and stone cold at the same time.
God's sake. Can't do this wrestling lark anymore. But yes, this was tremendous. Not to take away from Azusa Inaba and Hina, it was a really good match. It was a really good match. Because if it was any other match, I would have just ignored it and carried on. But it was really good. Again, 2 of the talents that we spoke about before, looking at sending Stardom into the future and those that are going to be carrying Stardom into the future. Rina is going to be at the forefront of that, but not far behind her are going to be Hina and Azusa Inaba. And if they can put on matches like this over a period of 15 minutes, 16 minutes, 17 minutes with a white belt on the line in, 18 months, 2 years time, Stardom is going to be a very, very, very good place to be. However, this was then bettered by the match after this, because talk about chemistry. Turns out some of the best chemistry in this entire Cinderella tournament is Sayaka Kurara and Tomoka Inaba, Matt.
This was great because it was Tomoka really pasting with the strikes and Sayaka Kurara selling and fighting from underneath, which made from really, really great chemistry. Tomoka Inaba is an absolute savage, and Sayaka's great at babyface sympathy, able to come back here. I love it how Sayaka starts building her offense up towards the middle of this match, building to that act 3 of the match with the forearms, the rear naked chokes, and then Tomoka Inaba goes right back to the knee that she was working on earlier in the match. I thought that was great. Sayaka Kurara goes for the fisherman screw suplex. However, Inaba blocks that. He hits a huge knee strike and then hits a gourd buster that scores her a 2 count and then goes back into the knee bar. I thought that was great. Then Sayaka Kurara hits like a one-legged spear, very much like you would see Mayu throw that like desperation super kick to build towards the actual super kick. Like Sayaka just hits like a one-legged desperation spear that's able to break up the match a little bit for her, and then is able to kind of get her to create some separation to build towards the finish, which I thought was genius. Sayaka then follows that up with a violent shooting, and then she hits the huge Takameki spear, which I thought was the finish for a 2.9 count. Tomoka Inaba escapes the Falcon Arrow, hits a head kick, and then Inaba goes for the Inaba drop. However, Sayaka is able to use Tomoka's own momentum against her, swing all the way through, hit the Falcon Arrow for the 3 count. This was great. 4.25 stars. It's either this match or the match we talked about is my favorite of the tournament thus far. Just a really great outing. And considering this is like the first time kind of big singles match we've seen between the two in quite some time, I thought this one delivered on all sorts of levels. She didn't know which way it was going to go. Again, I love the defensive wrestling from Sayaka Kurara. Like I said, 4.25 stars.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said that Sayaka Kurara's best underdog babyface qualities were accented by the aggression of Tomoka Inaba. And I think that's where the chemistry really lay because, again, we were able to see Sayaka Kurara weather that Tomoka Inaba storm, the flurry of kicks, the vicious strikes. Sayaka Kurara is perhaps one of your most sympathetic baby faces on this entire roster and is able to cultivate that sympathy from a crowd. And I think against competitors like Tomoka Inaba, where that aggression is at the forefront of her offense, it's very easy for Sayaka Kurara to do her best work. Again, match of the tournament, if you can only watch one match from this tournament, has to be this one for me. Then make time and go and watch Hina and Azusa Inaba. Amisori versus Rina Matt, and wouldn't you know it, hate gotta hate. Hate have gotta hate, and that means that the match, Matt Turner, starts with Amisori being launched into the chairs.
Yeah, this was terrific. Sorry, I'm running late for dinner, and Amber told me, don't worry about it. Don't rush. She's the best. Really. It's like
we've only got this and one more match to talk about anyway. It's all right.
Well, I need to brag about 6 for 8. I'll get into that in a minute. But
of course you do.
This match,
sticking that knife in, brother, on you, just digging it in there.
I'm sure then I'll probably get every other one wrong. But regardless,
fingers crossed.
Well, no, oh my God, what a guy. Anywho, this match was terrific.
Such a sore loser.
I love it how you do have Amisori is like the bigger, stronger of the two, but yet she's the sympathetic baby face because Rina on the jump, 84 members of hate. You're absolutely right. 30 seconds in, and Amisori's in row 4. So I like that how it's just like you're kind of figuring out like, okay, like the formula. Amisori is an over baby face in a very popular faction that is God's Eye, and Rina is the smaller heel, the Brad heel in the cool faction that is hate. How are they going to get heat on Amisori and get sympathy behind her? And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, I'm sure they'll figure it out. These two are next level wrestlers, and it happens in 30 seconds. I was like, yeah, what do I know about pro wrestling?
Who are you?
Who am I, Matt Turner, only trained by the guy being in the main event of WrestleMania? Anywho,
you were trained by Randy Orton.
I was trained by the referee. That's going to be in the main event. Earl Hebner. I don't know. Anywho, back in the ring we go. Amisori is able to build her comeback up with the classic Amisori shoulder tackle, lariat, 94 chops, which never gets old, which is awesome. And considering the fact that like how Rina was just being such a brat heel in the beginning parts of this match, every time Amisori chops Rina, you can just hear Cork and Hall like, yes, yeah, you get back at her, Amisori, which I thought was great. And then Rina just hits a pair of big boots that Amisori does a great job putting over and selling. Rina goes for the second rope knee bomb. However, Amisori stops the knee bomb, hits a textbook Harley Race style suplex for a 2 count. Amisori starts building up her offense, but wouldn't you know that Rina stops that with a beautiful judo throw. I love it how Rina's able to incorporate that into matches. Rina then locks in the hydrangea into the hydrangea bomb for a 2 count. Rina follows it up with a top rope knee bomb for a 2.9 count. Rina locks back in the hydrangea, but Ami Sourei powers out of that, hits the Blue Thunder bomb. Ami Sourei goes for the Rainmaker. However, Rina is able to duck the Rainmaker and then is able to roll up one Ami Sourei for a 2 count. Ami Sourei comes back with the big boot, hits the Rainmaker, and then Ami goes for the like a Thunderbolt. But however, Rina escapes at the last second, is able to lock in a Crucifix pin for the 3 count. 4 stars for me, my friend. Again, this show is just at all sorts of levels of fantastic, and this was one of the better matches on a fantastic show for me. Rina going on to the quarterfinals.
And then finally, our main event, Sayurita versus Miyu Amasaki. And again, Miyu Amasaki, Matt, getting that spotlight that we talked about on the previous show. And just a little bit of comedy with Rina Yamashita, the one opening the ropes for Miyu. And I must admit, Miyu's facial expression when she saw that really made me laugh.
This was interesting considering it was the main event and it went less than 10 minutes. And so
Yeah. It was something that crossed my mind.
I think it's just because Miyu is so over in Korakuen Hall, and so is Saida. Again, Miyu O2 line versus BMI 2000 back at the beginning of the year. Miyu was crazy hot over, and Saida versus Ami Sourei back at that main event of Korakuen Hall for the #1 contendership for Queendom. So it's like, we kind of have two wrestlers that are really over with the crowd. Let's put them in the main event, and they delivered. Not as good as the last few matches that we talked about. I like the Ami Rina match better. The other two matches we talked about, and Point Rion, I liked it a little bit better, but still was really good. You're right. You did have the Manahadashi. Oh my God, I said that right for the first time.
You did. You've been practicing.
The leg capture O'Connor roll, as I still have in my notes, versus the Ida Bashi. So you had that back and forth. You had a lot of Saida with the clotheslines and the lariats. And Miyu Amasaki is such a great counter wrestler, especially that DDT. She can hit that DDT, I guess, kind of out of nowhere. And there was that spot you mentioned before, partner, where Saida goes for she goes for the muscle buster, and Miyu Amasaki just swings her legs through and catches Saida on the top of her head. Thank God Ida does all those neck bridges because that was scary. We get a great near fall back and forth between the two, and then we do have after that insane muscle buster into the muscle buster into the DDT counter from Miyu Amasaki. Then Miyu Amasaki does the Yamana Haradashi 2 in a row, leg capture O'Connor roll for the 3 count. 4 stars for me. I really enjoyed this match, but I think like the Poi match with Poi Rion was better. I think the Sayaka Kurara Tomoka match was better. I think Hina Nazusa was better. And I also think that the Rina versus Ami Sourei match was better. Still 4 stars. It's a great rating. But to me, I think just because of the lack of time that it got compared to the other matches, I think if it would have got 2 or 3 minutes, I think it might have been the best match of the whole tournament. But still, enjoyable match to end the show. Miyu Amasaki, who it does seem like that they are giving a little bit of a push to. Like I mentioned it last week, Rob. I wouldn't be shocked if she wins this whole tournament. We shall see. We will find out. We will know a little bit more in about 10 hours' time. But again, considering the fact that I think I had 3 matches at 4 stars, 2 matches at 4 stars, and you had some really fun openers to start the show. And Ron Yagami and Hanan, despite the lack of time, was still a really great match to kick off the tournament. Another great Korakuen Hall show, my friend. As you mentioned before, really none of your big stars, Shuri, Sai Kamatani, obviously Momo Watanabe still out with injury, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki, Izumi, obviously they weren't on this show. Just really goes to show you the middle of this card, how great the talent is to produce a show this good in pro wrestling.
Absolutely. And that does lead us to our quarterfinals, which we have Maki Ito taking on Hanan and Aya Sakura taking on Rian. That is on your left-hand side of the bracket. So one of those 4 women will be in the final. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have got Sayaka Kurara versus Rina and Hina versus Miyu Amasaki. That is on the right-hand side of the bracket. That means, Matt, that our Corrigan Hall show today, as you're listening to it on the 11th of March, or tomorrow as we are recording it, in its full entirety is as follows. The team of Hazuki Sioriano, Yuna Mizumori, and Kanai and Kikyo Furusawa and Fuwa-chan will be taking on the returning Starlight Kid, Meisera Maika, Xena, India Theo, and Tabata. We've then got the Stars team of B. Priestley, Sayurida, and Momokogo versus Mavida Loka, the returning Suzu Suzuki, Akira Kuragane, and Rini Yamashita. The God's Eye team of Amisori, Saki Kashima, Lady C, Tomoka Inaba, and Rani Yagami will take on the Hate team of Konami, Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, Azusa Inaba, and Fukika Death. We've then got the Future of Stardom Championship up for grabs. Hanako, the champion, taking on Uriah Hime. And then those four aforementioned quarterfinal matchups. Maki Ito versus Hanan, Aya Sakura versus Rian, Sayaka Kurara versus Rina, and Hina versus Miyu Amasaki. So, Matt, with all that Cinderella-iness, because that's definitely a word, in the rear view, and as we look on to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and indeed the final at the Yokohama Budokan on the 15th, it's time to compartmentalize for a moment. It's time, good sir, for Io and Kairi watch.
Io and Kairi watch. We have a number one contenders match for AJ Lee's Intercontinental Championship. Now, I've heard this will lead towards either next week at Raw or WrestleMania. I've heard conflicting points. So it is, yeah. Have you heard, Rob? Is it definite? You know as much as me.
I know there is a number one contendership match. I know that Io is in it. And that is as far as it goes because it's not clear as to where that match will take place. I assume it's Mania. Look, if it's WrestleMania, you're going to have AJ Lee have a singles match. Surely. If she's given the Intercontinental Championship, you've got 2 nights to fill. Otherwise, you're going to end up with, like, I don't know, Danhausen versus Mosh or something.
Or Danhausen versus Thrasher from the Headbangers. That's
what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I'm with it. Anywho, so this match, it was a gauntlet match. It took place on Monday Night Raw. So it's Io versus Lila Valkyria versus Bailey versus Asuka versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Ivy Nile. So we start out with Io versus Lila Valkyria. You remember when Io was a heel 2 years ago? I'm a heel. There's a lot of heel stuff with Io versus Lila Valkyria. Now we have both of them as baby faces. This opening segment of this gauntlet was fantastic. This whole gauntlet was really good. If you have not seen it, folks, take the 15 minutes or whatever it is that Io is in this gauntlet, because Io, to the shock of nobody, was great. Rob, 6 wrestlers in this gauntlet, a lot of main eventers, a lot of former champions. Only one person's name was being chanted pretty much the entire time they were in the ring. And wouldn't you know, it was one Io Sky, Io Shirai. They were chanting for her loudly throughout this segment. Again, the stuff with her and Lila Valkyria, great chain wrestling to start. Io with the handspring into the drop kick. Lila Valkyria comes back with some forearms and a slam, misses the basement drop kick. Lila Valkyria goes to the floor. You know, in your match with Io, buddy, there's no safe place. Io follows that up with a suicide dive. So poor Lila Valkyria, she eats it on the basement dropkick and then eats it on the suicide dive from Io. Kick exchange between the two, which Io gets the advantage of. Io hits the bullet train. Io misses the over the moonsault. Lila Valkyria comes back with a tornado DDT into a fisherman suplex. That was great. And then Lila Valkyria goes for the Nightwing, which is her version of the sit-out DVD. But Io rolls through with a Quesadora double stomp. Io hits a buzzsaw kick and then the moonsault for the 3 count. So Io moving on to the next round of the gauntlet. And wouldn't you know it, Rob, it's Raquel Rodriguez. Io wants to get this match over quick. So what does she do? As Raquel is making her way down the ring, Io goes for the suicide dive, but Raquel catches her and just slams Io right onto the floor. Like, poor Io. So like Io's getting steamrolled here, right? So it looks like Raquel is going to get the win. Io has some good comebacks. Like you see her with like using some of the high speed stuff, but then she's on the cell because this is their second match and Raquel's dominating her. Eventually, it looks like Io is going to get the advantage as she hits the head kick. She hits the bullet train. Io goes to the top rope, or it looks like she's going to go for the over the top rope moonsault, and then that Dasher Liv Morgan. She comes in for some interference, and then she's ran off by Stephanie Vickers, because if you remember, they are wrestling at WrestleMania. So I like how we intertwine that. We're putting a little more seasoning on that championship match. We do have that distracts one Raquel Rodriguez when Stephanie Verker comes out. Raquel turns around inside cradle. 1, 2, 3, Io. Moving on to the next round, but Raquel is so upset she beats up Io. Even worse after the match than she did during the match. She slams her on the floor, the Hana bomb on the floor, rolls Io into the ring. Ivy Nile comes into the ring and like an awful heel. You know what Ivy Nile does? Hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. Io is done for. So they did make Io look strong, getting 2 wins. The best part of the gauntlet was her and Lila Valkyria to start. Got some great heel heat on Raquel Rodriguez. And again, considering it took an after the match beating from Raquel to get Io out of the gauntlet. And just a quick go through the rest of the gauntlet. Again, Ivy Nile pins Io. That sends out Bayley. Bayley and Ivy have a nice little singles match. Bayley getting the win with the Bayley to belly. That sets up Asuka and Bayley in the finals, which we do have Kyrie involved a little bit. It's more or less Asuka throwing Kyrie in the way. Poor Kyrie, but we get a really great back and forth with Io, with Bayley and Asuka. If you remember those early days of NXT, Bayley and Asuka had a really great series of matches. But it is Bayley getting the win with the Rose Plan over Asuka. Overall, a really enjoyable gauntlet. Everybody looked really great, but to the shock of no one, Io was the clear star in this one. And again, they did a great job protecting her because I saw the result when I woke up this morning that Io didn't win, and I was like, let me watch it. I'm like, oh, they clearly protected her there. So don't know where they're going with Io. The big rumors are for WrestleMania, there's going to be up to 4 or 5 women's matches between the 2 nights, and it's going to be either the big rumor, Rob, is Io versus Julia or Io versus Kyrie versus Asuka in a 3-way. I will take either or, good sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Could not agree more. Ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of the Stardom Cast this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you are enjoying the Cinderella Tournament. We will be back next week to talk about the quarterfinals, semifinals, and indeed the final, and maybe a little bit of an idea as to where we are heading for All-Star Grand Queendom at the end of April. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, you can wherever you get your podcast. Just search for World of Joshi, search for the Stardom Cast, and we will appear. We are very much like Joe Hendry in that regard. You can also find us on Patreon, patreon.com/World of Joshi, where you can listen to all of these episodes ad-free for as little as $1 a month. You can find us on social media at World of Joshi. You can find us at worldofjoshi.com, where all of these episodes are, as well as all of our show reports and show previews and our interviews like Matt and Andy have just done with TJPW's Miyu Watanabe. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Matt Turner, good sir, sign us off.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, you can get a hold of me on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the TikTok at Matt Turner OF. If you want to shoot me an email, matt@worldofjoshi.com is one way to get a hold of me, or the classic, Rob Goodwin. The classic is always the way to go at the Stardom Cast 22 at gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Cinderella episode of the Stardom Cast. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together, and everybody's different. Everybody's special.